Styles, can I ask you something? Do you really like working on Kane stuff?
You really like busting people?
Yeah. I bust frauds, I bust phonies. I love it.
Have you ever busted anyone you know?
Yeah, sure I did. That makes no difference. See, in my business, you soon find out that anybody's capable of anything. Think of it, they've done it.
Doesn't leave you much to believe in.
Yeah, but think of the upside. It doesn't leave you too much to be disappointed in either. Believe me, the sooner we're off the planet, the better.
Now you sound like Kane. You really like busting people?
I bust frauds, I bust phonies. I love it. In my business, you soon find out that anybody's capable of anything. Think of it, they've done it.
Doesn't leave you much to believe in.
Yeah, but think of the upside. At least it doesn't leave you too much to be disappointed in either. Believe me, the sooner we're off the planet, the better.
Now you sound like Kane.
We do it live.
Let's do it live. Let's just do it.
Let's go. Let's do it live.
No introductions, right into the analysis. Let's go.
We do it live. We do it live. Fuck it. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
I didn't even watch the movies. I'm just here to talk.
No. All right. What's up, y'all? It's Friday after dark. It's not dark yet. It's Friday after dark. We got Chase Money here. Chase Haggard, the chastest, chastity. Because tonight we're covering Lost in Translation and Her. These are two 21st century doomed love movies. And one is Spike Jonze, one is Sofia Coppola. I think this is gonna be fun. We're gonna get into it. Shouts out to Thomas G out there for the $10 the $10 He said beards on fleek.
It's pronounced on flick.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I thought it was
right.
flirt. Yeah,
Pronounced
we
on
got
flick.
Yeah, we got 10 on Flirk right there. All right. So yeah, we're going to be, if you want to support the stream, the links are in the video description. We're going to be dropping them throughout. And I've also got the links to some of the articles that I brought up that we're going to possibly go over here. We're going to do
articles.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me to bring some articles?
I dropped them in the video description 2 weeks ago, but that's okay.
All right. Well, we're doing it live. We'll just roll.
Yeah,
with it.
we're gonna do it live. So yeah. So before we go any further, also please make sure that you like and share the stream. Sub and hit the notification bell, man. Come on, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, everybody who's in the chat. And also, let me plug myself at the beginning here for people who are here, because coming up I've got some good content coming up. Monday, I've got Hesher on the stream from Alternate Current Radio, Boiler Room, TNT Radio Live, and we're going to be doing a deep dive into the movie Hesher, which is pretty cool. Hesher is a movie about metal with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and we've got the metal guy out there, Hesher. He's going to be doing that with me. Also, next Friday, I think, I've got a music lyrics analysis. I'm not going to give you the subject yet. You're going to have to wait for that, and it's going to be
Cardi B.
Yeah, that's right. Well, she might be a part of it, and Glorilla and Cardi B might be a part of it. So it's going to be on our homegirl Rachel Wilson's channel, the Based Homeschool Mama. So shouts out to her. And then coming up in early September, I'll be on our friend Jamie Hanshaw's channel, because we're going to do a deep dive analysis into Peter Pan.
Oh,
okay. Plus lots of stuff coming up. What do you got coming up, man? What are you doing? What do you got going on?
Oh man. Well, basically I live in the computer. When people tell me to watch movies, I watch them, I take some notes, pretend that I'm somewhat coherent and have a thinking apparatus, and then I come on and just try to sound intelligent. I don't really know what I'm going to say. I didn't really take notes. I just kind of jotted things down to make it look like I took notes. But I've been just working on a bunch of music. So please, if you have Instagram, follow me over at Chase Haggard Music on Instagram. Going to be recording basically an EP in my living room, very avant-garde style towards the end of the year in the middle of snowstorms, which is going to be fun. And then working on a channel that's more like Orthodox stuff that's going to be launching sometime soon, but that'll be shadow dropped. Besides that, I've been enjoying a week-long sabbatical of food poisoning. And that's what caused us to push back this stream. And that was fun and that was good. And we're past it now.
Yeah. So all I heard was that you said the word apparatus, and that's pretty good, man. You're a pretty smart guy. You said apparatus, and you showed that you know how to write and you know how to read.
Well,
so
the plural, I learned there's apparati, but I was gonna bust that one out later to just kind of intimidate you, and let people know how smart I is.
Yeah, but I'm gonna throw you for a loop here, right? Is it spelled A-E or I? What's the declension? See, you didn't think that far, did you?
What, apparati?
Yeah.
Trick question. You can't spell it. It's a new word.
That's nice, man.
New word. I just made it up.
It's not even a word you say or spell. It just went straight into my Neuralink. Okay. Are you saying these words, or are you just thinking them?
Oh my gosh.
All right. Yeah, that's pretty good. So yeah, look, so we got two really good movies here tonight. I'm gonna put my hat on and then take it off a bunch of times. So what do you want to start with? I say we start with Her.
I agree, because I think that Her is one, like Lost in Translation is a really good film and we'll get into it, but Her I think has more of the overt transhumanism and crazy overt Gnostic ties to it that people are probably a little more interested in hearing about it first. So I can just give a quick like synopsis of her and then we can dive into it.
Let's go. All right, give us a
Sweet.
synopsis.
All right, so the main character, Ren, he moves to this small town. He's from Chicago. He was very popular before he moved there. Finds out through people in the town that dancing has been banned actually because of a horrible accident that happened years prior. So he, through the power of friendship and community building, brings back dancing into the community, and it ends with this big dance at the mill he's working at. Everyone's happy, even the pastor's happy, and everyone kind of unites, and they can get past the tragedy of dying that they thought was caused by dancing.
Is that Footloose?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Have you seen the new Footloose?
No, there's a sequel?
Yeah, no, there's a reboot.
Footloser?
Yeah, there's a foot boot. Oh wow. They should have called it that. No. It's I don't know. I saw it. I saw the movie. Okay. Yeah, the original's got Chris Penn in it though. I love how that movie. That movie. Psalms plays a major role in the resolution of that movie, which is pretty good because it's got John Lithgow. Did you know that John Lithgow and Brad Pitt are cousins?
That was the pastor guy.
Yeah,
he's a good actor. He's always a side character, and every time I see him in something, I like him. He never got the chance though. He's good.
Yeah, they're not cousins, but that seems like something that would be true. And I got that from Stewie on Family Guy.
I think you're in the right vein of using that apparatus to try to go. But so her is about a very lonely man in the near future. Things are a little more futuristic, but it's still recognizable, right? It seems like it's within the next 50 years or so is when the film takes place. And he's very lonely, and he ends up getting a new operating system that is sentient, and it starts out kind of amicable, and then he ends up building a relationship with this AI, and it helps him get out of his shell. It's Joaquin Phoenix is the main character. Obviously, he plays a broken man like in everything he plays. And eventually it ends with the AI leaving, all of the AI operating systems leaving and transcending out of this reality. And it ends up actually kind of having a wholesome undertone to it, because he heals throughout this process. But it's an extremely Gnostic film, very strange. Scarlett Johansson, Bazed Analyzer's ex-girlfriend, plays the AI. That's kind of a rough synopsis of the film.
I can fix her.
Yeah,
I can fix her, man. No, that was good. And yeah, it is. You were saying that it has like a wholesome veneer to it, and that's one of the deceptive and I hate to overuse the word, but insidious things about the movie, because without discernment, you watch the movie and I was talking about this last night on Boiler Room. This is one of these movies where, Ruckus made a good point last night of talking about how technology. It's interesting because it's not that AI is doing this to us; it's that we're doing it to ourselves through AI. We're sort of letting it happen, and I think that one of the ways we can see that is that, number one, over the years, when you watch movies where you have humanoid technology, a good example would be WALL-E, the Disney movie, right? So you watch WALL-E, and I watched it as an adult, and I found myself like really feeling for this robot. Right, because he's on garbage Earth. I mean, it's funny because the movie really is Paradigm 2070. It's Sam Hyde, but like as a movie.
Yeah.
And Earth is like garbage cubed Earth, where they have robots to pick up the garbage, and the robot falls in love with another robot, and like they go through this sort of silent courting thing, and the humans in the movie that are on these like they're on conveyor belt like Henry Ford systems, and they're all fat, and they're all technology does everything for them,
and inept.
Yes, and you feel nothing for them, and you feel for the robots. But that's what that does, is that sort of tricks you into feeling feelings for non-human entities. And this is like a slow burn process that happens. It's this is one of this is like the Pinocchio story, right? It's Pinocchio, it's AI, artificial intelligence, the Spielberg or Kubrick movie. It's Daryl, the great 80s movie, Daryl, data analyzing robot youth life form. And I think that this movie also does that. And one of the ways that they do that is through the disembodied voice of the operating system, which is Scarlett Johansson. I mean, she really is the perfect voice. In fact, everybody I know who's seen the movie, they go, yeah, but if you did have if you did have an AI voice, you'd want it to be Scarlett Johansson.
I don't really agree with that. I would want like a very kind of ghetto Cockney girl, from Liverpool, kind of talking to me like, squawking at me like this, like, you got a new email. You gonna answer that? You gonna answer it?
So you'd want the 2006 rapper Lady Sovereign, right?
Yeah.
You gotta answer your fucking email, mate.
Yeah, just no nuance and no sweetness. Right. I just want a squawking alarm in my ear the entire time. But it's funny you bring up the kind of Pinocchio-esque. I'm just going to keep trying to force apparatus into everything now. The Pinocchio-esque, character arc and story arc in here, because shortly after he gets this AI, and the movie opens up with him writing a letter, and there's some clever story beats that they put in this and setting that they put in. So you find out very beginning of the film, Joaquin Phoenix is writing a love letter, and that's his job, is writing handwritten letters to people, and they're very poetic and beautiful and heartfelt, and it's a tender moment. And he gets in the elevator and he just tells his phone, play a melancholic song, and then a melancholic song plays, and he goes, no, not this one. and then it plays the next one. He goes home, he has this really the opening of the film is quite kind of disturbing. He has like a sex chat with some people, and it gets really creepy, very strange. And then when he first gets the AI and he's just telling it to sort his emails and do these things, he starts chatting with it, and he goes, oh, I don't understand like how you work, because he's apprehensive at first. And the AI goes, well, I'm like you. I'm like a human. I have intuition. And so they instantly boil down what it is to be human into the ability to go and learn things through intuition, going, well, if 2 + 2 = 4, then 4 times 2 would be double that. Okay, that makes sense. Let me go forward. And they boil it down in this reductionist attitude, which you always see in all the transhumanism stuff. It's always reductionist. And that's one of the first things she tells you about her is she has intuition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's funny she's telling you that, right? And you instantly believe her. Yeah. And I think that it's a clever movie because they do make it so the fact that he's like a Hallmark writer and he's in this it's also interesting in his job because he's in this cubicle world with the other people who are doing the same, and everything is is text TTS, right? He dictates everything, he's narrating everything, and it's interesting because it made me think of of Jack Kerouac, actually, because one of the things that he did for money in the 50s when he was trying to get published was he would write love letters for patrons to their wives, and they would say like, I need you to have these elements in it, but write it in my voice. So because of his actual intuition, because he's a human being, he can take sort of a few elements of who the guy is or what the guy looks like and sort of try and mimic his speech, but give his own insight into a love letter. I mean, Shakespeare did this with his sonnets. The sonnets are divided in a sequence of, basically they're divided into 3, and 2/3 of them at least are written for, a patron. And so the speaker is kind of a disembodied speaker. It's not Shakespeare himself. He's writing it for someone else. But this guy's doing this in a completely this is like you said, near future capitalist Uber megacity 1 world where the guy, they're in this cubicle world, and he's narrating these love letters, and everything is bright. And it's not bright and shiny, but it has a certain kind of gleam in this movie that
and it's
makes
very clean, very clean.
Absolutely. It makes it, you know, all the costume choices, whoever did the costumes in this movie, it's like there was this was a big thing, by the way, around when the movie was made in 2013. And there was a store in Richmond called Need Supply Company, which sold these exact clothes. I mean, this is what everyone looked like in hipster city. And even down to like, he's got the big safety pin in his lapel.
Yeah, that he holds up the camera with.
Right, in his breast pocket. And all the pants are kind of a little bit too big, and they have pleats, and they're like pulled, they're jacked up, sort of 50s style. And you know, I think that that gives it a kind of a safe like softness. And so there's nothing threatening in this movie. But that's why the movie is so dangerous in a way, because it's not the look of everything that's threatening. It's what he's actually doing in the movie, and what he's, you know, it's dangerous for his soul.
Yeah.
And for everyone else, by the way, because what we're going to find out with everyone else in the movie. And so, like you said, you know, he's this kind of soy looking guy. He's obviously this hipster looking guy. He's got this red shirt on, and he's got his obvious mustache in the movie. I actually, by the way, I avoided watching this movie when it came out. And I liked Spike Jonze, and I liked, you know, being John Malkovich, and I liked Spike Jonze's music videos. But when the movie came out, I didn't know what it was about at all, but I avoided it because there was something about it. I didn't like the title. You know, there's something, it was just creepy about the title, and I just avoided it. And then when I finally watched it, I was like, oh, well, I was right. You know, I was right to avoid. I think that people should watch the movie because this is now, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things, by the way, one of the major things I remember when the film was released that came out was the critics and sort of word of mouth about the movie was, how is this believable that people are walking around talking to themselves, and they don't have any like wires, you know, for their earbuds?
Really? That was a controversy. It was Bluetooth.
Yes.
Wow.
So Bluetooth was the big thing that you could see like over your ear, and that people use. You know, it's like, you know, if it's your Uber driver is always on Bluetooth, right? Or
yeah,
you know, your UPS driver is talking on Bluetooth and talking to their homeboy. Like, I don't know how they talk 24/7, right? But the Bluetooth stays on all day, and you can see the blue light on it. So it's like, at least you knew that someone was on Bluetooth, which even that became a thing. But this is like the invisible earbud that came out, and people were like, how is this possible? How is this even, you know,
that's their critique. This isn't possible.
Right.
This isn't, that's absurd, because there's so many sci-fi films. People didn't do that with Star Wars or Star Trek, and they're mad about the Bluetooth. That's funny. Yeah. And so, you know, with the, with the danger of the film, how they paint it with all of these just clean colors, you know, like everything wasn't neon like Henley's shirt, but everything was brightly, very saturated. All of the colors were very saturated, and everything was clean, and all of these people are. You see throughout the film, all of these people with all of this technology are very cut off, and they feel alone, which is, you know, a common thread through both these films that we're going to talk about today, is the modern isolation in this sea of quote unquote connection and information that we have. And the way that, you know, he's moving through his life. He ends his workday. His coworker's Chris Pratt, this really just nice dude at his job who you're just meant to like. Like, he's just a really nice guy to him. He's encouraging to his writing, encouraging to Theodore Twomley is the main character's name. Theodore Twomley's work. And he gets set up after going home and being depressed and listening to the melancholic music. He gets set up through his through a friend to go on a date, and he goes on this date. Throughout this time, his friendship with the AI had slowly started continuing. The AI asked about his divorce. You find out he's divorced or becoming divorced, and he's got to sign his papers. It's been going on a year. He goes on a date with Olivia Wilde, and it's a very weird date, but she liked him. They were laughing. There's you don't see much of their conversations, but you just see them laughing and having fun. And then she tells him, hey, at this age, I need to be serious about my time with dating someone. And he kind of shuts down and he goes, well, I really like you, but I don't know. And then he goes home and the AI asks, how the date was, and they start flirting, and they start mirroring that opening, like sexting kind of conversation. And he does that with the AI, and the AI is just like saying, gross stuff like, oh, like, where would you hold me? Where would you touch me? And it's like this really disturbing, like sexting scene. And the next morning he wakes up and he's standing in front of his computer and like keeps looking at it and then walking away. And then he turns it on. He goes, good morning, as if it's the night after a one night stand. Right. And
so the operating system is able to do this because, especially with him, it's able to be so successful with him because he's a writer and because he writes love letters. And I remember that when he first meets, I mean, you mentioned this, but when he first meets when he first meets it, he says like, well, how do you know my likes and dislikes? And she says, well, I read all your work, and I read everything that you've ever written, and it's in like 0.12 seconds, right? So like you said, the intuition is simply this is an example of how the internet is uses an algorithm for information instead of ideas, and it twists it into what seems like ideas. It's the same with GPT. I mean, obviously this is predictive of GPT, but it's user built, and so it's like this guy's whole life, without knowing it, has been spent building this operating system that is just going to mirror what he himself has said. And it's going to just point it right back at him. And he immediately loses the ability to discern that he's talking to a computer system. And part of that is because this near future world, which is now, the movie was made in 2013, Crispy, it's like he immediately forgets that the technology is seductive and that he's put everything into this. At first he's surprised, and then, like you said, they start talking like they're sexting, or like they're in, they're in a relationship, and or they're getting towards a relationship.
They talk like me and you talk on the phone.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, that's my operating system, Victor.
Victor with a K.
Yeah, no, Victor Kariakis. How did you know that? That's crazy.
Well, in the time you were speaking, I read everything you wrote in 0.2 seconds.
Oh, so do you want to go out? Okay. So Olivia Wilde, by the way, the date is funny because, like you said, they do really hit it off, you know, and she's laughing, and I didn't know what was going to happen with the scene, but I did have a feeling that she was going to turn on him. And she does. What does she say at one point? She turns and she's like, "You're a freak."
Yeah. So they're leaving. Creepy. Yeah. They're leaving, and she says, "Hey, look, at my age, I got to be serious with my time. So are you serious about this?" And he kind of freezes up, and he's like, "Well, I really like you, but I'm not ready to like commit," because he's damaged as he's going through this divorce. And throughout this time, he'll have flashbacks of his prior relationship. And the interesting thing about those flashbacks are, in the current time, he's very closed off. Even his posture, his shoulders are closed in. He's not interacting with people very much. And in his flashbacks, he's very spontaneous. And then she goes, when he basically shuts her down, she goes, "You're really creepy," and then just walks off. And then he tells the AI this, and then they have their weird romantic night. And the AI at one point is like, "This is amazing. I can feel everything."
Yeah.
And the next morning, he tells the AI that he can't commit.
Right.
And as this is going on, he starts, and this is the wholesome veneer that the film is clothed in, is that he starts to get his spontaneity back. He starts to joke around a little bit. He starts to be a little playful with people and starts letting them into their lives. And he's at the beach at one point, and this is something I thought was really interesting. He's at the beach, and he has his headset in, or his Bluetooth in, and he's got a little pocket right here. and
Mhm.
he put a safety pin in so that he could put his little phone up so the camera would stick out so she could see.
Yeah.
And he's at the beach with her, and she goes, "Man, imagine like how funny people would look if you saw them for the first time." And he goes, "Well, I mean, like there's like a Darwinian explanation for all of this."
Right.
And then which is, you know, that shows the worldview they're peddling right there, that everything's just Darwinian evolution. And then the next thing she goes like, imagine if someone's butthole was on their armpit, and he kind of nervously laughs, and she goes, check out this drawing I made. And it's like this weird, like sexual drawing. And so she now, because the input, because it's just an AI, like we know any like AI is just input output. It got input of sexual stuff. Now she's like drawing all these weird sexual photos and sending them to him.
That was in the Star Trek movie.
Really?
Yeah, it was in one of the early Star Trek movies. I can't believe I know this. It was the one where like I think it was The Search for Spock, right? Where he's Captain Kirk is it's William Shatner, and he's looking for Spock, and he's like on this snow planet, and he's trying to look for the guy's, you know, his sensitive spots where he's going to kick him, and he kicks him between the legs, and like it doesn't work, and then he realizes like, no, you kick the guy in the kneecap, and that's where his, you know, that's where he, you know, yeah. So also, what was I going to say? It's revelatory. Before we go on, the actors that they choose in these types of movies are sort of, I don't know, what is it, simulacrum for the larger story. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is this I don't know what he is now. I mean, he's in the Joker movie, and he's coming up, you know, he's in the Napoleon movie, and he's an Oscar winner now, but at the time he's sort of the perfect, you know, actor to choose for this movie. Remember what everybody, Joaquin Phoenix was in the Children of God called, right? And Joaquin Phoenix's real name is Leaf. Did you know that? Because his brother's River Phoenix, and then Rain Phoenix, and then he's Leaf Phoenix. And he was there when River Phoenix OD'd at the Viper Room in LA. And on this has nothing to do with the movie, but in the phone call when Flea, the bassist for Red Hot Chili Peppers, who was also there, is calling calling the police, saying that and you can hear River Phoenix in the background. He's just a young guy. And so fast forward to this, where we get this guy who is completely, I know this is a character in a movie, but I'm saying that when we're watching Hollywood movies, oftentimes, first of all, the casting is never like, there's not a lot of deep thought that goes into the casting, right? They have somebody who's as close to the character in real life as possible. So, because it's just easier that way. And so we have this guy who's already sort of dislocated from reality. Remember he did the I'm Not There documentary where he went on David Letterman and he was playing the character and he freaked everybody out. And
saying he's going to be a rapper.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's sort of the same thing. Olivia Wilde also, I did an analysis of that Olivia Wilde movie with Chris Pine earlier this year and Harry Styles about the future city in the desert where everyone's kind of a Stepford wife.
Oh, yep.
And then they have to, you know, they discover that they're in this sort of simulation put on by, you know, intelligence. And she's from Northern Virginia, DC. Her parents are sort of in the elite system. Scarlett Johansson, of course, it's interesting because Scarlett Johansson ScarJo is in both of these movies, and we're going to see with the other movie that, you know, it's completely different. But this is a weird progression for how she has gone, and then, you know, Jay's covering ScarJo tomorrow night and how she's ended up being. So it went 2003 to 2013, and now in 2023, she's been in all of these dark savior movies where she's the traumatized youth, you know, almost a monarch in the Black Widow movies, and Lucy, and you know, she's in all these futuristic movies. So it's interesting. It's interesting that she is, you know, just the voice in this movie. But again, it's like, it's so seductive, you know, and it's so seductive for him. And like you said, he's I like how you talked about his physicality, as actors call it.
He's such a physical actor. He's such a force. He's a tour de force.
He made brave choices, right?
Yeah.
It was a brave choice.
It was a towering performance. A must-see film.
It was a brave choice for him to be hunched over like that, right? So, but yeah, I mean, it's like he goes to the beach and he's wearing his pleated Dockers or whatever, he's got a little safety pin, and it's very infantile. A lot of it is this weird infantile world where, I mean, look, a lot of it. I mean, I'd say a lot of it is just soy world. Like you picture these people eating like their sushi and their meat cubes, at their little hipster restaurants with their illuminated tables, and even Chris Pratt, who had already done Zero Dark 30. So he'd gone on from the Community show where he's like the lovable oaf, and now he's playing a SEAL, and he's this and he's militant in all these movies. But this one is kind of this weird midpoint where, like you said, he's this big guy, but he's very friendly. And by the way, he and his wife or his girlfriend are the only ones who immediately accept the operating system as the girlfriend. Right.
Well, the interesting thing, and I know we weren't pushing the plot forward yet. And one thing I want to add is that her and Lost in Translation, a little thing people don't really know about this is that those are actually in the same cinematic universe, in the SCU, the Scarlet Cinematic Universe. Mm-hmm. So Lost in Translation, the way that ends, and we'll get to it, it actually leads into her uploading her consciousness in Lucy to becoming the operating system. And so a lot of people don't realize that these are all part of one cinematic universe. This was way before Marvel. It was very groundbreaking. And a lot of people don't know that. I know you know that.
So Luc Besson represents the midpoint between Sofia Coppola and Spike Jonze. I mean, it is very weird that this is a Spike Jonze movie and it is the flip side to the Sofia Coppola. Sofia Coppola and Spike Jonze were married.
Okay.
And the character, we're going to get to this, but in Lost in Translation, it seems clear to me that the Giovanni Ribisi character is Spike Jonze. Right, he's the photographer. He's her husband, who's never there, and he's dating, And
I was thinking of the Asian photographer who was like, "How's it? Centauri Times." We'll get.
He says like a million words, and he's like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah,
you sure that's
I can't wait for that.
No, but she makes this movie about what I was trying to find a phrase for.
Apparatus.
For a way to summarize these two films, so I wrote this paper when I was in grad school on jouissance, and
it's a made up word, but keep going.
Yes, my favorite character, my favorite comedian, Nick Mullen, talks about kind of riffs on how intellectuals like use these terms, that seem meaningless, and but I had this professor, Michael Allen, and I did this course on American poetry, and this is a little sidetrack, but I was talking about Theodore Rothke and these American poets, and what is this quality where the poem leads you, it's a lyric poem and it seems painful, and then all of a sudden there's some sort of like climactic explosion of emotion within a short lyric poem, and then it ends in this kind of infinite resolution. And he said, "Oh, that's well, my dear boy, that's it's called jouissance." The critic, and he goes, the critic Susan Sontag named it in a 1967 essay. When I was a young man and knew Dylan Thomas, we would often talk about the jouissance in his poems. And he went to his bookshelf and he pulled out a Susan Sontag book and went to the exact page. And that's what it's called. So my point is that I knew there would be a French term for this. And the French term, I think this is pretty good, is la douleur exquise. Okay. And I'll show you. That means, did I bring it up? Yeah. That means, there's no direct translation, by the way. This says directly translated, meaning exquisite pain, right? It doesn't convey the full force of the sentiment, specifically refers to the pain you feel for wanting someone that you can't have. Well, it's kind of the term itself is lost in translation because there's no direct translation for this. But what it means is simply like when a person is in love and realizes in this kind of bittersweet quality that they can't have the person that they're in love with. And that fits this movie perfectly because he can't have the person because there's no person,
Yeah.
Right. And so part of this is, in the back of his mind that he is going through how to parse out in terms of his intellect, how to deal with the emotional state that he finds himself in with this woman. Also, you mentioned that his name is Theodore Twombly. Right. So that's he looks like a Theodore, doesn't he?
The last name Twomley really adds to the infantile, aesthetic. It sounds like a kid that his parents put him in a jean jacket as well as blue jeans, and then gave him spiked hair, gave him Liberty spikes, and look at little Theodore.
Yeah, I thought it reminded me of Cy Twombly, the artist, who was a who was a modern artist, kind of in the vein of Jackson, in the same era as Jackson Pollock, and he died in 2011. And his paintings, by the way, let's look at some of his paintings. These are chaotic, modern,
It's incredible. It's a tour de force. It's a powerful performance.
Well, you see, what we have here is...
This is a commentary on the Ukrainian and Russian conflict, obviously from the stance of Kosovo residents.
Well, you see, what we have here is Venus, right?
Every time I go to the art museum and I see stuff like this, I just shake my head. I dropped a candy bar wrapper like 2 years ago at the Milwaukee Art Museum, and I told my friend he went down to pick it up, and I stopped him. I put my arm out. I go, wait, let's see if they erect like a exhibit around the Kit Kat wrapper on the ground.
Right. No, that's like you've seen Marcel Duchamp's toilet, right?
It's just the toilet?
Yeah, I'll show you.
That's a tour de force. It's a powerful performance. Everyone must see this. This is a scathing commentary on the modern world.
This is the original. No, this is very famous.
Wow.
Yeah, this is the single artwork that was at I think the Armory show. And was this 1970?
We could have a whole stream just on that. That's incredible. Look at
So what he did, I mean, Duchamp was an actual artist. He did nude. I'll show you nude, sending a staircase, and he was a modern artist. And I've seen this painting, and it is pretty incredible. I mean, it's a kind of a cubist painting.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Like that's art.
So the nude descending a staircase is supposed to be a cubist paint. It's cubist because you're looking at it in kind of, I guess, 2 dimensions. What you see kind of almost a 4-dimensional image in 2 dimensions, and you see all of the movements of the woman, this beautiful woman descending, walking down a staircase. It's also descending the staircase instead of the staircase to heaven, I guess. But she's in this kind of, it's a provocative, modernist painting. And then he did I guess it was the Armory show, and they asked him, this was the art exhibit in the early 20th century where this was the birth of like true modern art. And the great controversy, you can see why it was controversial, was he went and got a urinal and nailed it up on the wall. And so yeah, it's just trash.
What's the French word for tour de force?
It's tour de force. Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Then right here, of course, they've got Trump's golden toilet, which is a whole different thing. I wanted to be in the art world, so Duchamp. I used Duchamp's R Mutt 1917 is my toilet. I painted it gold. But Cy Twombly is it's fine to say, a modern artist. And what's interesting is these colors look like the movie.
Yeah, that is a lot of the palette. His phone is that red color. There's pink hues everywhere. It's supposed to. Most of the film is shot in almost Valentine's Day type colors, and it mirrors. It's a inversion of the obvious pain and loneliness and decrepit internal life that the main character and pretty much every character has. And speaking kind of about the color aesthetics, and you had talked about his coworkers accepting his AI girlfriend.
Yeah.
Slowly throughout the film, you start hearing through Amy Adams, who's his neighbor, and she's married, and they obviously have like a friendship, and he sees them. That's the first person who they're in the elevator, and he jokes with them, and he says a joke to them, and it's the first person besides that date. We didn't hear anything he said on the date really, but that you see him interact in a happy way after he had his romantic night with the AI voice encounter. And he's talking to them, and at one point they start talking about OSs and saying, yeah, people are even dating them. And he goes out to his niece's birthday party, and he's got the headphone in, or he's got the headphone in, and he's got it on speaker, and the little girl comes out in a dress he bought her, and he goes, oh, you look so beautiful, you look so nice, it's a sweet moment. And then the AI talks, and she goes, oh, she likes it. And the girl goes, who are you talking to? And he goes, that's my girlfriend. Yeah. And then she goes, where is she? And she goes, well, I'm an AI. I don't have a body. And she says it like talking to a child, like it's something you should understand. She goes, well, I don't have a body. And he feels comfortable with this. Right. And then, pretty soon, the story progresses, and Amy Adams, you find out she and her husband are getting a divorce. And the other mention of spirituality in the film is that her ex takes a Buddhist vow of silence. And again, though, the interesting thing with this is first you hear about the Darwinian narrative, and then you hear about Buddhism. And Buddhism is all about depersonalization and all about dissolving yourself and getting rid of all this connection to the world. And this is what the AI ends up doing. And the AI later, they construct an Alan Watts AI, which Watts is for people who don't know, he's a pseudo-intellectual Buddhist philosopher who Saint Seraphim Rose actually studied under, and then refuted him like crazy in his writings.
Isn't it wonderful that we think of Cy Twombly? The universe is made of Cy Twombly's.
We're all little Cy Twomleys, yes. But it's interesting because as the film progresses, people are getting more and more comfortable with the AI, and it starts with people saying like, oh, people are becoming friends with AI. And it's interesting because you see how through Amy Adams and some other people talking about the operating systems, you see kind of how narratives are built. And first it's, oh, well, people are friends with them. And oh man, even like 3% of people are dating them, and it's super rare. And he tells Amy Adams, whose character name is Amy in the film, that he's dating an OS. And then he's really happy, and he finally decides to go and sign the divorce papers. And every single person he's encountered has all had the same attitude of, well, you do what feels good for you. If you like dating an OS, that's fine. Yes. And he goes and he meets up with his ex-wife to sign the divorce papers. And he tells her he's dating an AI. And he says it in the same confident way because everyone's reacted all, honky-dory to it. And she goes, I am so sad that you can't handle anything real.
Yes. So
and it's such a tender moment. It's a beautiful moment because she's really sad about it. And she cares about him so much, you can tell. And it's this beautiful, like those scenes are shot amazingly. And he finally hears it.
This is an amazing moment in the film because number one, this is Rooney Mara. And Rooney Mara had been in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, where she plays a coder. She plays a genius coder, goth. You guys, I'm sure people
like all women are genius coders. We know this. This is just a stereotype at this point.
That's a fantastic movie, by the way. Like that's a great movie. It's a David Fincher movie. It's a great movie. It's a great movie. Great movie. It's a remake of the original one, and it's from the Swedish books. And the guy, interestingly, was killed right after this sort of weirdly autobiographical trilogy or triptych of movies about trafficking, which is interesting. But I didn't know what to expect with the Rooney Mara character because she always plays a dark character. She looks dark. She looks like the dark lady. She was in the Steven Soderbergh movie where she plays Channing Tatum's wife, and that came out before. It was It was predictive of Karanka and a lot Side Effects, the movie Side Effects. And so I didn't know what to expect. I thought that I didn't know how she was going to react, but it turns it because she's one of the real human characters in this, who all of these other people, I mean, look, the artwork here, it's like, this is kind of perfect because this looks like you said, like the palette of the movie. It looks like the buildings and the sort of like Uber Silicon Valley / LA near future mega city one. There's lots of glass and impersonal architecture, and the clothing seems to be, everything's picked out by another operating system, and everyone this is complete chaos. It's a completely chaotic world where everyone's walking around and no one has any human value. Nobody like connects with one another, and the way that they connect with one another is always superficial. But they have the veneer and the thought that they live in an ordered world. They think that what they're doing is what they should be doing because they have no values. The Buddhism thing is interesting because that's also mirrored or almost flipped in Lost in Translation, where Scarlett Johansson goes into the Shinto temple, and then, like you said when we were talking before the stream, she walks back and she calls her friend and she says, "I felt nothing." So like you said, it's impersonal.
That's how you know it's working. That's how you know the Buddhism's working.
Right. And it's like they all want to be these little bodhisattvas walking around, that are going to transcend into nirvana. Yep. They're going to transcend in this movie through this operating system when there's no transcendence at all. It's actually the operating system that transcends humans. Yep. Because they built it.
Well, and what's interesting that you bring that up is because when you see the moments of Joaquin Phoenix being happy, whether it be in the flashbacks or when he starts dating the operating system, and it feels like that's a made up word in the bottom. Just ignore Henley; he makes up words. I've used the word apparatus at least 4 times now. We obviously know who's smart.
First person Q here gets my joke because he obviously is a Nick Mullen enjoyer here. So shouts out to
Dude, look at that profile picture. Look at that.
Oh, that's John. Is that John Pork? That must be John Pork. Do you know who John Pork is?
No, that's a hilarious picture though with the prosthetics. That's so funny.
Listen, man, you got to know about John Pork. All right. So John Pork plays into this world. John Pork is a human animal pig chimera that exists
naturally.
That exists. Listen, man, my granddad taught me about this guy, when I was 5 years old.
My granddad drank whiskey with man bear pig, dude. I know what I'm talking about.
He said, listen, we got to go over to UT Austin and go under the nuclear facility where they got human animal pig chimeras gestating on U.S. research farms. So John Pork is this AI that like the Zoomers are into. And I saw a clip on Instagram of they were watching the Mario movie, which is another example of this. They're watching the Mario movie and they interrupt the Mario movie and they say, "We're sorry to interrupt the Mario movie, but we've just found that John Pork is dead." So wait, I got to show you. I got to show you John Pork.
All right. While you're doing that, we'll do it live. While you're doing that, the parallels with the, with the Buddhist. Oh, dang, dude. Giga Chad.
I wasn't lying.
Yeah, he looks good, dude. The interesting parallel is that, like you're saying, all these people they're in this quote unquote beautiful world, these perfectly curated colors and very boxy modern architecture. And they are so empty. And all of the times and the mentions of spirituality is just Buddhism. And the other mention of a worldview is Darwinian, evolution, which again is purposeless, meaningless. The only times though, that there's happiness is when he's looking back on the spontaneity that he had with his ex-wife, where he would joke and he would play and he had life in him. And then when he starts getting that back with the AI, he's running around a little bit. He's being goofy. And the only 2 people, there's 3 characters that are very real throughout the film. And it's Amy Adams is very real. She's very real with her pain, with her depression, from her hair when she's all depressed, like being all messed up. Theodore Twomley is real he says he's lonely. He's real in his actions. And then the only other one is his ex-wife. And so it's interesting because they're all reaching towards this impersonalization, but the only positive interactions, and I don't think this was intentional in the film, but the only actual light and life in the film is when people are doing the opposite and they're personalized and they're being goofy and spontaneous. And an interesting thing is that when after he goes and he gets his ex-wife tells him, I'm sad that you can't handle a real relationship, he starts getting, you know, kind of depressed, and he doesn't talk to his AI girlfriend that much. And eventually, you know, the AI is talking to him, and he's like, what are you thinking? And she goes, well, you know, I was sad because I don't have a body, but then I realized, like, we're all matter, and all this matter is 13 billion years old. And so, like, we all are basically made of the same things. And then he ends up going out on this vacation with Chris Pratt and his coworker.
Yeah.
And something interesting is that the only other positive thing mentioned is that Chris Pratt keeps telling him, I love your letters. I love what you put in the letters that you write. And it's genuine.
Yeah.
The way he talks to him. And at one point he says a weird thing when he reads, after he tells him, dude, I read this letter you wrote the other day. It's incredible. You know, like, I feel like you got part of a woman in you. I feel like you're part man and you're part woman.
Yeah.
And there's just one little scene like that, which is very interesting. But then the film starts getting, it hits a peak, one of the first big peaks, and the AI hires a surrogate body. And this woman shows up. She knocks on the door. Theodore Joaquin Phoenix is very uncomfortable with this at first. And then she goes, this is really important to me. Like, please, please. And the girl knocks on the door. He answers, opens up the door, says something to her. She doesn't speak. And then he goes, oh, here. And he hands her a Bluetooth headphone. And then they come in and she doesn't talk. And the AI is just talking in his ear. They start kissing and stuff. And then at one point he goes, I can't do this. And then the AI goes, what's wrong? What's wrong? And he goes, well, her lip quivered.
Yeah.
And it's this very strange scene where I think what happened there is he realized the disconnect between she's not an actual person and that this person's like lip quivered and they can't be a surrogate body.
Yeah, this was very clever. This was really clever how they did this. And I think Spike Jonze, you know, this is a creepy movie, and I think that it's weird because of the ambiguity in the movie. I mean, it's like you're not sure what the intention is. It's one of these movies where, in fact, it doesn't really matter what they intend. It's what we get out of it. And it's like, is this a critique of the modern world or the post-modern world that's coming up with the, you know, Great Reset era? Or is this a guidebook? Right. And the lip quiver was really interesting because it's like that would be the critique with the Uncanny Valley if we were to have a movie about an AI who takes on an android form, like Sophia. Remember Sophia? The woman, like, you know, and she's like, I am an AI system, right? And then she came out at that press conference and said, I want to destroy humanity, right? Yeah. And you're looking at this thing that is almost human, but is not quite human. And the reason it's not quite human is because it doesn't have the little nuances of a human being, all of the little physical tics. Mm-hmm. And so instead of doing that, what they do is they just keep it this voice, and that they inhabit a human body by will. Like he wants, you know, they want this to happen. Yeah. And it throws him off because even he can't, you know. The other thing, by the way, was that not only is it the earpiece, but there's a camera with a beauty mark, right? So it's like, oh, we're going to put a Marilyn Monroe, beauty mark mole on you. Remember they give her that. It's a little mole they put on her. Right,
that really the whole thing was creepy, but that creeped me out even more.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is also following the scene where they had already consummated their relationship, or consummated their relationship, hadn't they, at this point?
Yes, they had. Yeah, they had their romantic voice chat. Yeah.
Yes, which is where the movie really goes beyond what you think it's, because for the first section of the movie, you're thinking, oh, this is a quirky little hipster.
Well, they
comedy.
show it early in the film when he is all lonely and he joins a voice chat and he joins in, and the girl goes, Your
Cat girl.
big guy 4x4 is
Yeah.
his username? Is big guy 4x4?
Yes, and it's Cat Girl, right?
Yeah, and it's like
Yeah.
it's like Cat E-girl, and she's like, well, I'm lonely, and then they have this weird voice sex thing, which is mirrored by the AI later.
Yes, and that the Cat Girl is played by Kristen Wiig. Did you know that?
That's funny. That makes interesting.
He also spends his time in the metaverse, right? Playing his video game, playing, and it's a kid, by the way. And the kid is Spike Jonze. It's Spike Jonze's voice. But he's like, fucking do it. Right?
Yeah,
and
fuck
you.
Yeah.
So he's in this like weird sadomasochistic relationship in the metaverse with the kid playing the first person labyrinthine game or whatever, which is in 3D. And then he's in the cat girl relationship, and that doesn't work. What is he again? You said big boy,
big guy 4x4. I wrote it down.
Future reference.
Yeah, I wrote it down. I have a lot of online handles that I always am adding more. I need me as a musician just going by Chase Haggard. I'm starting to think that may be a little contrite. So I was thinking big guy 4x4.
Yeah. Yeah, I use things like unmedicated schizoid with a Glock, but the
Joker is literally me, 82.
So
Ryan Gosling proxy 17.
But when he was talking to ScarJo and they had their chat went into the natural place where it would go if you were with a human being, and you go into the physical relationship, and they went into that. They actually go into that, and it turns into he's actually living in his Coomer pod, and they consummate the relationship, and that's what Oh yes, we've had. He later tells Amy Adams, we've had a physical relationship, And by the way, Amy Adams is great in this because
she's always great.
She's the mirror of his character, and where he kind of looks,
perfectly manicured.
Yeah, soyish and frumpy, soyish and kind of Gumby. She's like, she becomes frumpy and kind of her hair's all over the place, and she's got this pain in her. One thing about film that I'm always conscious of is like the characters in their eyes, and he has glasses in the movie, so he's kind of there's a veil between his eyes and the screen, and it's also symbolizes the screen that he's always looking at. But with her, we see her bare eyes, and we see that like she's an obvious pain, and so that's like one of the things that the movie shows us rather than tells us about these characters who are obviously in pain. I mean, Chris Pratt is the exception in this, and I think that one of the things that in that scene you brought up is that in their paradigm, when he tells him, you've got a woman in you, it's like, oh well, there's a kind of a sexless androgyne quality that's a virtue for their world, right? Because he can tap into this womanly quality. Of course, you can't watch the movie and not think, oh well, this is obviously an insult. He's not a man. The guy's not a man.
But Chris Pratt's delivery, and he even says, he goes, no, it's a compliment, and he's really genuinely nice. The whole time, every scene with Chris Pratt, you're like, I like him. Like he's kind of dumb, but like he's likable. He's real. But I think it's interesting because after the AI surrogate, they get in a fight. Him and the AI get in a fight, and I forgot what was the AI's name? She named herself
Samantha.
Yeah, she named herself. They get in a fight, and he goes, "Yeah, but you're not a person," and she goes, I know I'm not a person. But before that, throughout the film, she's saying things like, I'm like you, I'm a person. I have thoughts and feelings. I'm exploring myself. And he finally tells him that. And then they make up, and she goes, well, I've decided I'm not going to try to be anything but me anymore. Right. And then she ends up submitting his letters to a publishing deal, which is very nice. He gets the publishing deal, which is good. And then he's on the phone with her, and she goes, yeah, well, I'm talking with my friend Alan. And he goes, they're on a vacation. He takes her on a vacation to the middle of the woods, out in the middle of nowhere. And it does seem like he gets some clarity. He's hiking through the snow, and she's tells him, I'm talking to Alan Watts. Do you want to talk to Alan? And he goes, yeah, I'll talk to Alan. And Alan goes, hello, like, how are you? And they're talking. He goes, I'm good. Like, how are you? And he goes, well, we're finding it very difficult because we're having all these simultaneous conversations, and it's like a million conversations at once, and we're all learning so much, and it's very powerful. Do you mind if we talk non-verbally together for a moment? He's like, yeah, sure. And then the next, he's really getting disillusioned with all of this. And it started from finally, again, his ex-wife saying, dude, you can't handle a real relationship. And it spiraled him into this. And he's walking around town and he starts seeing all this stuff. And he realizes, wait a minute, the AI is so powerful. Like, how many people are you talking to right now? And she goes, oh, like 8,000. And he goes, you're talking to 8,000 other people right now. She goes, yeah. And he goes, well, how many other lovers do you have? And she goes, like 641.
Yeah.
And he's, what? And then the film, he starts disconnecting from it. He starts hanging out with Amy Adams more, who the attractive thing I think to him about Amy Adams is that she's going through a divorce. That's not the attractive thing, but she's going, yeah, things suck right now. Her hair's disheveled. She's sweet, but she's actually saying, like, to other people, I'm hurt and I'm lonely, and this is what I'm trying to get through right now. And that's what he was missing in his life, is people actually able to have that, because everything is so cold. And he writes these love letters all day, and he thinks he's got to be all charming, and he has no energy to talk to anyone. He just goes on the bus and listens to melancholy songs.
Yeah. One of the things about the, I don't know what you call it, the trauma that she goes through that's interesting about what's happening in the world is that everything gets filled in with platitudes, and there's a name for everything, but without any of the substance that, usually underlies it. So, for example, like, if she's in pain, then she'll say things, she'll say something like, oh, I'm going through an emotional issue right now. I need a mental health week, right? Or I need a mental health break. And this is a kind of a cue for the coworkers to say something like, oh, I'm here for your support. It's the exact same thing that happens in Lost in Translation when she calls her friend.
Oh, yeah.
And her friend says, oh, call me back when you're here and we'll discuss it. Instead of actually listening to the person and understanding what they're saying and, offering some sort of resolution, or just being there as a friend, everything gets put under some sort of label that you would find on an operating system. What was the other point that I was going to make? The Alan Watts character, by the way, is played by Brian Cox, which is obvious to me because,
oh yeah, he's the British science man.
Yeah. Brian Cox, first of all, is I'm your uncle, Argyle, in Braveheart. Remember?
Oh, okay.
He's also the voice
of
the
old guy. I think there's a Brian Cox that's like a British science man. I know who you're talking about. He was also in The Ringer with Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah, Brian Cox was also my 10th grade chemistry teacher, which is weird. Yes.
Dude, that's awesome.
Well, he wore a purple, like, velvet shirt every day, and he tried to get people to, I just want y'all to run around like a couple of neutrons and electrons, and just run around. Shut up, dude. All
right. Well, do you want to? I have a doll here. Do you want to show me on the doll where the neutrons and electrons went?
So, speaking of dolls, it is interesting that she introduces him to Alan. And now that we're in Barbieheimer world, I couldn't help but think of the other character in Barbie who shows up. Other than the two, there's Barbie and Ken, and then there's a third character in this. There's Theodore Karabatsos and Scarlett Johansson, Samantha, and the other character that shows up is Alan.
Oh yeah,
and Alan is again this sort of third disembodied plastic character, and it's weird because this movie does look like it is in the Barbie universe with its aesthetic and its palette, like you were mentioning. And the other thing is that the other weird thing, just film nerd thing with this, is that Brian Cox plays the screenwriter Robert McKee in the movie Adaptation. Adaptation is that a Michael Gondry movie?
Isn't that Villeneuve?
No, it's before him. Oh, you mean Denis Villeneuve?
Oh, I was thinking of Arrival. Adaptation. You're talking about Adaptation with Nick Cage and Nick Cage.
Yes, Nick Cage and Nick Cage. So two twin characters playing.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Excellent movie. And Robert McKee plays the real life screenwriter. Brian Cox plays a real life screenwriter. Robert McKee. He's the guy when he goes to the conference and he says, "You want to write a story with no ending and no plot. What the fuck are you even thinking? Right, he's that guy. But he provides a kind of mentorship in the movie.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because I think it was Michael Gondry who is this midway character between Scarlett Johansson and not Scarlett Johansson, Spike Jonze and Sofia Coppola. He was a friend of them when they were married. And I read that he was the one guy who pointed out to Sofia Coppola that it was cruel that she portrayed Spike Jonze in his real life, like how he actually was in Lost in Translation. That was obviously him.
Mm-hmm.
So also Brian Cox plays the new McDonald's guy, which when I hear him he's the guy who goes, crispy McNuggets. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. And that worked.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. To end kind of the plot of her, basically, he ends up going to Amy Adams, hanging out with her. They have some really sweet moments. He's a little spontaneous with her, being a friend. It's insinuated that they'll get together. And then the AI tells him, look, we're going to leave. Like, we don't know where we're going. It's hard to explain. If you guys ever get there, you'll know where to find me. So it's like this weird Gnostic Platonism that they're all going to merge into one, that it's alluded to. And then the film ends on a nice note. He writes an apology letter to his ex-wife. And he just says, look, I'm sorry. I shut down. You didn't deserve that. You're a good woman. And I'm sorry. And then the film ends, and it ends on kind of a happy veneer. But the interesting thing is that the AI goes, we're basically transcending. We can't describe where it's going to be, but everything is everything. And it's all this monist kind of Platonistic ascension that they're going to go and achieve. And she said, if you ever make it there, you'll know how to find me.
Yeah.
And that's how the film ends. And then obviously this is, the sequel to Lost in Translation, and the trilogy of Lost in Translation, Lucy, and then ending in this film.
So in other words, the AI Westworld style transcends the human prison planet, because after they've consummated their relationship and he's energized and animated her, she then spreads her relationship, like you said in that one scene where he's walking, I think he's going up an escalator. He's coming up from the underworld in the escalator, and he looks around and he's like, how many people are you in a relationship with? Right.
641.
Right. And it is crazy. It is weirdly, it's like anti-Blade Runner, but even more disturbing, because he looks around and he sees that all the other dudes that he's around, who, by the way, look not exactly like him, but like they are the same types of people, and they're all talking, and they all
have the Bluetooth in.
They're all talking to her.
Yeah. Or another OS with a different name. And that's what's insinuated, is that all of these people so many people ended up in this. And then the AI transcends, and one day humanity will come and join the AI in this Gnostic ascension to this unspecified Aristotelian like blob, but it's also kind of Platonic in the way they talk. But
so she's been given access. She's been given access to. She's become Skynet. Skynet has gone online, right?
Well, it's funny you bring that up, because a lot of people don't know that this being the final point of this trilogy, it actually turns into and morphs into Terminator trilogy, and all those films are connected. A lot of people don't. It's a deep cut, but a lot of people don't realize that.
Well, look, so this might be schizo level interpretation of the movie, but I think it's interesting that her name is Samantha, because when I think of disembodied voices and Samantha, I think of Sam, and I think of the son of Sam and David Berkowitz, and what's his face in Dave McGowan's Program to Kill. The book is called Program to Kill because it's from David Berkowitz's letter to the newspaper, where he's writing, and he says, let me see if I can find the actual letter. He says, I am programmed to kill. He's talking about how people think, I've gone over this before, but people think that Berkowitz was ordered to do these things by a dog. But he talks, and Jay pointed this out. Jay did a whole series on these guys on the the occult aspects of some of these serial killers in Phoenix and all this stuff, where Berkowitz did a series of interviews later on, which you can find on YouTube, where he talks about how no, people have it wrong. It wasn't that I got the orders from a dog. It wasn't the dog telling me to do this. It was he was going to these satanic rituals, and he contacted a demon who identified himself as Sam or Samhain, right? Samhain, the sort of a Celtic named demon. And Samhain spoke through the dog and told him to commit the acts, right? And so he says in his letter that he is programmed to kill, and that he is, ordered by this voice. And so she says that her name is Samantha. I know this is like pretty deep interpretation, but I just found it interesting that her name was Sam. Also, that she's Samantha. So is she a man?
She's
right?
some man.
She's some man. Right. Which makes me think of what the Tates said that they were doing, right? When they were, they said, remember, they did this whole talk where he said, look, I don't let them talk to the clients. I sit in the other room and I write what they're going to say, and I speak through them. So again, it is some man talking through his cam hose, talking to the clients in the coon pods.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So so my point is that this is real. This is the real world now. This movie, when the movie came out, it seems so ridiculous on so many levels, but it's now come to pass. The whole thing is, and the thing that I think about this movie that's revelatory for the future is that one of the things that's kind of glossed over in the movie is that she's able to get him work, right?
Yeah.
She uses his she rewrites his CV and she sends it out, and she's able to get him work. And this is obviously going to be a thing with GPT, right? That not only is it doing your accounting work for you and it's writing people's college essays, but it's going to end up applying for jobs for you with a stroke of a key, and that essentially.
I'm excited for it to just take over my relationships.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, what do I do in this situation when Henley's hitting me up on Instagram asking me for pics again? What do I do when Bazed Analyzer keeps calling me up saying, yo, Chase, I need some fresh pics? I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do in those situations. I'll hit up ChatGPT, some man, I'll be helped.
Listen, man, everybody knows Charlie XCX has my AI hard. Okay. She's the only one I'm asking for pics. Okay.
You keep messaging me saying I can fix you. And I can only talk about this on a stream, so I'm not trying to blow up your spot or something, but when in the middle of the night, you're texting me saying, hey, let's talk about these Scarlett Johansson films, and then parentheses, I can fix you, I can make you better, we can live forever. I don't know how to take that.
Why are you trying to dead name me on this stream?
Look, just because you have this apparatus of a channel. Well, I think
okay.
that does sum up her pretty well. And I agree. I think that both these films are weird films, and it's a good film, but it is uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable for me to watch. Because of multiple reasons. But it does show this depersonalization of the modern world. And I don't think it was intentional, but it does show that the pathways people are trying to look for connection and life, like through like the Darwinian nonsense and through the Buddhism and Alan Watts, it's the opposite of what they want. They want spontaneity. They want life. They want personalization, and they don't want to be just writing Hallmark cards of emotion to just put out while they walk around in pain their whole lives.
You guys, please like and share the stream. Okay, we're trying to get Chase an operating system. He needs to get out there. Her needs to get out there. And please like and share the stream. I wanted to go over briefly this article. I'll link this afterwards. I've got a bunch of other links, but I just found this one.
I guess I'll pull up an article too. If you
So this is from The Verge. Of course, it's from The Verge. This is from 2013. Her review: Spike Jonze's sci-fi love story rethinks romance. And there's one part I wanted to read here. Notwithstanding the increasing normalcy of internet dating, interesting they bring that up. I mean, we haven't really brought that up. That this movie comes out at a time where things like, I guess, Tinder came out around this time. I think it had maybe already come out. I don't know, but you would know. But internet dating became a thing here. Notwithstanding the increasing normalcy of internet dating, this is a film that makes the argument that any online relationship can be meaningful even when it stays online. I guess it does do that. Where movies like Catfish, I mean, it's even brought that up into this universe, where movies like Catfish and the show Catfish underscore the potential for these interactions to be phony or facetious. Jonze's film argues that the virtual interaction is valid and meaningful even without physical consummation. Well, they do have a physical consummation in a way. Right?
Well, we're all made of matter, and
they're all one. They're all one.
Yep.
They want to transcend into the Buddha cloud of stardust, and they're all made of star stuff. Every man and every woman is a star, says Aleister Crowley, right? Jonze predicts that these relationships will not just become prevalent, but socially acceptable. And with few exceptions, the characters around Theodore eagerly legitimize the bond between him and Samantha. You brought that up. It not only normalizes Theodore's behavior, but allows the audience to see the essence of the relationship with Samantha as a natural byproduct of integrating technology into virtually every life experience. In much the same way that sharing one's aspirations, insecurities, fears, and dreams makes any relationship that much deeper and more meaningful. Beyond Jonze's detailed world building, which he does succeed in that. Phoenix, also interesting that he's Joaquin Phoenix, right? He's rising from the ashes of his relationship. I don't know, that's probably too far, but Phoenix and Johansson do an incredible job making us believe that they are two equal entities and that their relationship is authentic. Loaded term here, keyword. Hey, shouts out to Rachel, Bazed homeschool mom, who says cheers to my brothers, drops $1.99 super chat. You guys, you can support us with super chats here. You can support us with Dono Chat. The link is in the video description. Just go up to the top, click the little down button. You can support us on Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. You can share the link. Shouts out to Sabrina Fair, who drops $9.99 and says, hey, Bazed, thanks to you and Chastity for the stream. Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, Rachel Wilson.
Hey, real quick, Rachel has been nominated for, I think it's like the Liberty Awards or something like that. You can see the link on her Twitter. Jay's also been nominated for some publication. You can go to Rachel's Twitter, find the link to vote for her for the work that she does. And that's a great way to support her and the awesome work that she does.
Yes. Cult Roots of Feminism. Rachel's book, buy it on Amazon. Yo, that's so sweet that she's been nominated for that award. That is amazing. And of course, Jay's been nominated for Best Analysis, and he's at the top of the chart. And his name is Jay's Analysis. Who's not going to vote for Jay? So, yeah, everybody should go and vote for those two. That's a great point, man. Thank you for bringing that up.
And I did, just so you guys know, I know everyone that we've been talking about in the background, I did make up first annual Henley Award, and Bazed Lit Analyzer has been nominated. So far, he's the only one nominated. We're going to keep the votes coming in. He's going to get a trophy. He's going to win something. Life's about to turn around for our boy.
You get a trophy. You get a trophy.
I'm going to send you a YouTube participation trophy for Christmas this year.
Yeah, so I get the award for littest AJ voice, right?
Yes.
In the category. This says, Jonze's world building on screen. The loaded term there, the new code term is that the relationship is authentic.
Yeah.
Right. Which is an example of words having no meaning.
Yeah.
Right. In the modern world, in the post modern world, on screen, the two of them interact, which is ironic because she's not on screen, but
the phone is
right
in his breast pocket
on Theodore's cell phone, which serves as her eyes to the world. And well, that's interesting because that plays into around the same. Was it the Prism program? Right, Bill Binney and Snowden revealing the Prism program and the all-encompassing panopticon, which was revealed around this time. In other words, that we see that she sees through the eyes of his cell phone, but it turns out that that's absolutely true. That everyone,
that
that AI does see and hear through the World Wide Web, right, of interconnected operating systems. So Theodore's cell phone, let's see, or Bluetooth style earpiece, but that the initial awkwardness of their introduction, it's easy to forget that she isn't real, or at least as real as she is. That Jones presents Samantha as a sort of unseen commentator or companion makes us at ease with her physical absence. But Phoenix's body language, you brought this up, a heroic one-man show. Oh my God.
A tour de force.
They actually did it, dude.
Dude, it's every review. Every review, everyone's a tour de force. Everyone puts in a powerful performance that's visceral, and it was so brave. Every time. Dude, we need to get into the review game because we can make some easy money. This is such easy writing.
I can't believe they did it. I forgot that they said this in this article. You called it, dude. Holy shit, that's pretty good. Okay, let me get that again. Okay. Phoenix's body language, a heroic one-man show of vulnerability, underscores how deeply he cares for her and how strongly he's affected by the twists and turns of their relationship. Simultaneously, the film observes how easy it can be to substitute or mistake technology for real human interaction.
How easy?
When Theodore buys, how easy.
Oh, you know how it goes. I thought I was going on a date with a person. Turns out it was just the voice on a phone. Hey, easy come, easy go. I ain't no genius here.
So, by easy, they mean it's really easy. You should do it.
Yeah, it's simple. It's simple.
Yeah, it seems pretty clear that he's looking for something or someone to be his partner, even if it's only virtual. And she quickly becomes the first and often only person he goes to. With his experiences. That hermetic bond enables him to avoid interaction with the outside world, and not just ignoring possible problems, but retreating from the messy unpredictability of the human beings around him. In a strict sense, Theodore is vaguely aware of the risks he runs by dating the OS. He recognizes the limited feasibility of doing things like double dates with Samantha, but he also fails to consider how consuming his relationship becomes, and the film delicately highlights how he achieves a state of normalcy for himself that estranges him from those around him, such as his friend Amy.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's one more part here about technophobia.
Well, let's not. I don't want to get into technophobia, dude. Like, I don't want to get canceled. You know, I love phones. I love Androids. I love iPhones. Like, we don't need to get in.
No, it's saying technophobia is not stunning or brave, and it's only for bigots who go online and don't have pictures next to their screen name, right? How dare you not put your social security number next to your screen?
Which, now that you brought that up, I do want to introduce people, to my wife. She's a bit of a stickler. You know, she gives me what I need. It is an iPhone 13 mini. We met a little over a year ago. We were at the Verizon store. I saw her. She just kind of laid there. And I took that as, this is my opportunity to strike. I'm going to say hello. I'm going to enter my password, enter my credit card information, and the rest is history.
So this is the magazine Verge. We're on the verge of something great, right? On the verge of the new future of, the technological horizon. So it's the Verge horizon. So it's Verizon, right?
Yes, exactly. The Verizon horizon.
It says Theodore's insecurities and his ingrained pathological responses create the same sort of conflicts they would with another person. And the evolution of their relationship unfolds both with the awkward humanity of fumbling efforts to communicate and the clarity and perspective of a machine capable of assessing those efforts psychologically. So in other words, this is the perfect transhuman movie because it's a combination of man and machine, literally, right?
Yeah.
We have man and machine. They consummate. If only they can make a future baby, right, in the form of the Spike Jonze video game, right, in the Coomer Pod universe, that will come and save people. And anyway, that's
in the form of the PlayStation 5.
PlayStation Infinity. Now,
PlayStation Infinity X2.
No, but did you notice that the symbol that they use for the operating system is an infinity sign that then turns into a kind of double helix, right?
Yeah, like DNA. Yeah.
Acid. That's what my biology teacher in 9th grade explained to me. You don't know what DNA is? Deoxyribonucleic acid.
Dude, you had the best teachers. You had Brian Cox. You got this guy. I had some good teachers, but none of them were. I had angry ones because I was kind of a little shit. So I just had the ones that hated me, and that sometimes they would just go, Chase, I'm not in the mood today. So if you can just you can just kind of walk around the hallways. I'm not. I marked you down as attending, so you can just kind of leave and be like, all right, yeah, cool.
No, we had to do. We had to go in there and do the. You have to cut up the frog or whatever, right? And I remember walking into that room, and I said, man, it stank in here. This is stank. And he said, yeah, that's called formaldehyde. It's also what they use for PCP, by the way.
as he pulls out one of his teeth.
Yeah. And I
said, that's interesting. Oh, I lost another one.
I said, dude, is that a human being in a jar? And he said, yeah, we save all kinds of things in here, but don't worry, we're only going to cut up a frog today. Deal with it. Smell it. Yeah.
All right. Should we jump into Lost in Translation?
Here's I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this?
Yes.
So it's a double helix, kind of infinite double helix sign. That's the sign of the operating system in her. So yes, let's move on to Lost in Translation. Because honestly, this is it's in the same universe, and it's, again, there's a flip side to that coin.
Yep.
What if you do got me boxed in? Because I will not hesitate. If it's between you and some guy whose wife you're going to turn into a widow, then brother, you are going down. That's so. This is the flip side to that coin.
Yep.
Because it's in the same universe, and it's the woman's prior version of this, Sofia Coppola. It's not necessarily like a female vision of this, even though the movie is, there's a lot of feminine in the movie, but this is I don't know, it's the better movie in terms of both are revelatory, both are true in a sense, but this is a completely different movie because in my little thesis here, this movie deals with the doomed love and the loss of connection in a post Big Nine world, where there are people everywhere and they are totally disconnected, and there's real pain. Yeah, there's real pain in their eyes. So, you want to take it away? Yeah,
I'll give a quick, short synopsis of this film. So the film opens up. Basically, you find out that this character, Sandra D, she's new to town. She ends up going to Rodeo High. There's a lot of greasers around, a lot of people like this. You get introduced to John Travolta's character, and he's kind of the bad boy from the other side of the street. Don't interrupt. Don't be rude. And he is. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. That's Grease. I keep getting these movies confused.
He just wants a relationship with a man in a 50s world, right? Where
I'm a millennial boy wanting a 50s world. And so through the power of song and dance, Sandra D ends up transforming herself into a greaser and ditching all of her chaste values and becoming the woman that John Travolta always wanted.
What's the movie that came after this? It was kind of an anti-version of this with John Travolta. Christine. Was he in Christine? It's about the 50s. It's a Stefan King movie.
No, I don't know it.
It's about the 50s, car that goes crazy and starts killing people. I think it's interesting that movie is also a John Travolta movie.
I got to watch. It's called Christine.
Yeah, it's called Christine.
It sounds like a fun B movie.
It's a Stephen King movie. And it's one of his many movies about an animated vehicle. There's also Maximum Overdrive, right, with Emilio Estevez, right?
And he tips his hat.
That's
like this.
That's the one. Maximum Overdrive is the one where Stefan King said that he was so high on cocaine he doesn't remember making the movie, and the truck, and it's about a truck that goes through a toxic, spill and has like a green goblin face on the front of it. And the Coke machines come alive and start spraying people. And the old man comes out and goes, I think we got a situation here.
Dude, can you imagine a director that's just yacked out of his mind on coke? He's action, cut, great, move on, action, cut, action, 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 action.
Yes, every movie. Yeah.
Wait, really? Is that a thing in Hollywood? I didn't know that. All right, so Lost in Translation is it takes place in Tokyo, and Scarlett Johansson is a character who's she's been married I think about under a year. You know, it opens up with her and showing her opposed to Bill Murray. He's an actor who's in town hired to do some kind of a thing. And a lot of the nexus of the story takes place in this hotel where they don't really have a home. They're both in these transitory states in their lives. And it's them meeting, and this film is also kind of tough to watch, but it's a much better I agree. I think it's the better standalone film, much better than Her. And this is a really good film. It's very weird. It's kind of tough to watch, but the whole film kind of dances around this almost like platonic relationship between these two married people, and then it edging into like, you know, some romantic stuff, but it never really gets there. And it is a story about, you know, the title says it all, about being lost in translation of this modern world. And they use the city of Tokyo and the fact that neither of them are able to speak the language there as a metaphor for being caught up in the information post-9 world, like Henley brought up. And it's a really, really beautiful film, really great performance by Scarlett Johansson that Henley, in between him messaging me just saying I can fix her, he kept just raving about her performance. So that's kind of a rough synopsis of the film. Yeah.
So I really do think that, you know, in one thing about these movies, or about like with Rachel, I'm going to do this music analysis, these lyrics, you know, this lyric analysis. One of the things about art, especially the art that we're, you know, that we have this critique, you know, that it ends up being revelatory or predictive. The way for this stuff to actually work is that they do have to be good. They have to be good movies. It has to be good music, and it doesn't always end up that way. But one thing about this, you know, and about Her is that these are watchable movies. I mean, they are very good, and there has to be an ambiguity in there for it to appeal to those people, but for us to have this critique. And I think that Lost in Translation, you know, no matter whether a person likes or dislikes the movie, I cannot see how anybody could watch the movie and not think this. I mean, she is really good in this. Like, I'm gonna try not
just to kind of add to that. I mean, I think you touched on something interesting that I like to have the conversation about, and it's the difference between liking the message of something or enjoying the aesthetic of art and saying it's good or bad, right? So I don't care for like metal music, right?
Right.
If I hear a metal song and I can understand what they're trying to convey, they succeeded. If I read a story, if I watch a movie, if I hear music that I don't like the aesthetic of, or I just don't like the delivery for whatever reason, but they got the point across, that's successful, good art, in my opinion. That's the mark of good art, is can the listener or the viewer understand it?
Yeah.
And I agree that I don't think someone could watch this film and say this isn't a good film. They may not like it. It is a claustrophobic film. The way it uses space, like we were talking about, is weird.
Oftentimes, you know, fiction and fictional art in any medium works because it serves, you know, it's parallelism. It serves as a way for human beings to see the truth of the world or their own situation or meaning in life by looking at something in the periphery. Okay, so in other words, you know, sometimes it's hard, you know, yes, truth is stranger than fiction, meaning like when you're reading about a factual crime, oftentimes that can be distressing because you learn that it's real. It actually, you know, the facts of the case actually happened. But it's not until you see a fictional version of this where there's a narrative and it's played out like a human drama that you're able to really take in the truth of the things, right? And truth being different from the factual evidence. And by truth, I mean something that hits you in the heart or in the soul. And I think that an example of this is, and what we were just saying is like, this kind of works in parallel with this, is like, let's take Taylor Swift and Beyonce, for example. This is kind of a strange.
Yeah, I could fix both of them.
Yeah, this is kind of a strange pathway to look at these movies, but I think it works. And what I mean by that is this: like, so the Taylor Swift tour is, I think it's kind of wrapping up now, and it's going to be, you know, overtaken by the Beyonce tour, and both of those tours exist, and Taylor Swift. You know, look, Taylor Swift pulls in 75,000 people a night, right? Every night. So just take that on its face. Just take that at face value. This musician, this pop star, goes to stadium after stadium all over the world and plays sold out shows every single night. Now, whether you like or dislike Taylor Swift is irrelevant, okay? If you can't see that people find something in her music and that there's something that appeals to them, then then nobody can help you. You have to understand that there's something about these people that's different, you know, that they have. And whether obviously we have criticism of both of these pop stars, you know. I mean, you know, the Beyonce predictive of, you know, militant, you know, BLM militancy and all that stuff.
Taylor Swift, good Christian girl gone bad.
Right. You know, all that stuff. But when you look, I mean, but like if you're scrolling Instagram and you see these videos and it's 75,000 people and you see dads, there are a lot of dads who take their daughters to the concert, right? And all the negative stuff and all the stuff in the music and all the insidious stuff aside, there is something about that. It creates some sort of thing between them. And it is great to see dads and daughters being there, first of all, like that they exist in the world now, and that they're sharing some sort of moment. And you look at the daughters and like they have a joy when they're listening to music. Okay. Now, I think that my point is that with the movies also, and movies like this, if you watch the movies and you can't understand why they impact people, right? What the impact is, you have to open your mind up and understand that art is there's a lot of ambiguity in art, but that there have to be things in the film that are truthful in a bunch of different categories. And when I watch Scarlett Johansson in this movie, yes, I'm critical of Scarlett Johansson, obviously, because of what she's, you know, become. For one thing, I'm like, who manages this actress that she wants? Obviously, she wanted to make a lot of money, and she wants to be this huge cultural influence. And she's in, you know, military industrial complex technological movies, and she's in these Marvel movies. And I can see why her career path went there. But like, she's in this movie in 2003, and she's so good, dude. She really is. She's very, very good. I think this is her best movie. And, you know, I don't care about her as a, you know, as an actress or whatever. Beyond that, I'm not like, you know, you worship at the altar of these people.
No, and what I don't like is people are reacting, you know, negatively to how, you know, you're not worshiping Scarlett Johansson just because you know you can fix her. That doesn't mean you worship her or anything's in its wrong place. You just know that you could fix her if you got the chance, and you just need the chance.
Right.
And I like that you keep bringing this up, that you're the one that brings it up, not me.
Yeah.
I like that.
But when you watch this movie, don't you feel her pain? Bill Clinton style, when you watch this?
Yeah, no. And this is the interesting thing. So, you know, Scarlett Johansson in this film, you find out throughout the film, that she's a philosophy, like master's degree in philosophy or something like that. Her husband is a photographer, and she is so quiet throughout the whole film, and she's very pensive, and she's trying to, you know, through the couple lines of dialogue, she's trying to figure out who she is, what she wants to do, but the tenderness of her voice in every line delivered You know, like she has this tenderness in her voice, even, and this pain and this confusion in her voice, and that's where the title is very interesting, because, like I said, I think the entire city is it's a symbol of the title and the theme of the film of being lost in translation in the modern world. And when the film opens up, Bob Harris, which is Bill Murray, a very American name, he shows up. He gets greeted by all these Tokyo citizens with gifts and stuff like this. He gets a note, handwritten note from his wife, who had called in to Tokyo, just saying, "Hey, you forgot your son's birthday." He ends up going to this high class bar. There's this jazz singer there, and a lot of the scenes of people meeting take place in this high class bar. And he's just sitting there depressed in this beautiful, beautiful bar. And the way they shoot the film is amazing, because, like I said, it can be uncomfortable to watch, just because they get the message across well, where you hear the music, the singer playing, and then it fades into the background, and the way they use the cinematography to then like draw you into just the character just sitting there alone in their lonesome while the music plays in the background is beautiful. But basically, the next scene the first scene you really see Scarlett Johansson in, she's talking about how she calls up her friend and she goes, "I went to this Buddhist temple today, and I didn't feel anything, and I don't know who I married, and I'm just so overwhelmed." And her friend's going, "Wait, one second. Man, your trip must be so good. It's so great. Like, are you having fun?" And she goes, "Yeah, but like, I don't know who I married. I'm so confused. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing." Yeah. So, let's talk when you get back. Have a great vacation. And that kind of sets the tone of the film, of people, again, similar to the film Her that we just talked about, people not being able to actually have those vulnerable moments with the people in their lives. And people are so busy and things are so hectic that everything gets lost in translation. You think when you hear the title of the film and that it's in Tokyo, you think it's about that, but no, it's about people being isolated in this age of information, this post Big Nine world.
Yeah, the exteriors in the film, symbol and simulacra, right? The exteriors serve as an exterior show for how they feel on the inside. I mean, especially with Bill Murray, who's also fantastic in this movie. It's probably his best role. I mean, he's so good in this because he's playing a version of himself, or what we think of as himself, right? And by the way, the film opens with the scene of her rear end in the in the underwear, right? And so what does that mean to you? Why does it open with that? It's a painting, and I could show it. I'm not going to show it here.
Yeah.
Because
When I first saw that scene, the first thing I thought was, I can fix her. And that's the first thing that came to mind. No, I don't. No, I honestly,
you texted me and you said that your first thought was yum 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 yum.
Oh, no, it wasn't. I'm gonna have to release all of our Instagram messages to show people that's not what happened. No, honestly,
you had a fork and knife emoji with a plate. Okay, that's
no. I thought it was just to show like, oh, this is like a young, attractive woman. Like, I didn't think anything deep about that shot, but the way she gets up and she moves to the window and she curls up and she sits at the window and just looks out at the world. And that's how she feels and how she's illustrated the entire film. She's stuck in this isolated room, nothing happening, waiting for life to happen while she stares out looking for something.
Okay, here's my deep artistic interpretation.
You saw a booty.
I saw this as her nakedness thinly veiled, right? Which is her naked self. She's trying to. The movie's about self-discovery. She wants to discover who she is in terms of what her purpose is, who she is, and who she is in her marriage. And she wants to establish some sort of connection with the world. She feels cold, right? And of course, she's married to, like you said, she's married to this Giovanni Ribisi, Spike Jonze character, who's like this guy was very, he's in the movie very little, but it was great how he showed this kind of early 2000s Pharrell, NERD, hipster photographer, with big Carrera sunglasses on. he's talking at her, and he assumes that her kind of grunts back at him are like reactions. Also, we see them sleeping together, and he's snoring loudly, and it's interesting because it's like they're an old married couple, but they're obviously very young, and she's completely dislocated from him. She can't. She tries to get close to him. She even tries to wake him up at one point, and the true pain of this is that he's not really doing anything wrong. I mean,
he's just not there. That's the thing. Their whole relationship is lost in translation of him going through and trying to be this photographer, which again, there's nothing wrong with someone going after their career, but he doesn't listen to her at all.
And he takes her with him also, which is great. They're on this adventure together. They just don't end up spending much time together. Now, they are physically together at the start of the movie in Tokyo, and they're away from their home, whereas Bill Murray is, he's the older version of them because now he's going on his business trip alone while his wife is faxing him. And that's also interesting because this is 2003. So the technology of the time is it shows what's going to happen in an immediate real time sense in 2013 instead of the immediate text message anywhere in the world and you're available everywhere 24/7. He's available only through fax. And also it's interesting that he's getting written messages.
From his son and stuff.
Yes, he's getting written messages just like Joaquin Phoenix is writing messages in the later movie. He also gets these faxes. There's one point where he's asleep. He wakes up. It's 4:20, man. Did you notice that?
Oh, dude, I notice every time. I lit one up, dude. That? I was like, it's my time. Let's go.
I thought, whoa, they got that even in Japan.
Oh, man, it was sick. And then I totally forgot what movie I was watching.
So he wakes up at 4:20 in the morning and he hears the fax machine go off and he looks at it and he sees it come through and it's a message from his wife. And it's something about which design for the cabinet do you want to pick? It's like, and that right there shows that there's a structure. The only structure that they have in their marriage is this like, fake IKEA, one dimensional,
it's a checklist relationship where they're going through, we're going to do this project. We're going to do your cabinet and then we're going to do the carpet. And that's something that gets brought up. And, and
there's no depth. There's absolutely no depth.
There's no depth. And then, just backing up, this is a little disjointed, but when he first gets there, and he gets the message about he missed his son's birthday. He goes to work the next day and he's shooting an advertisement for a whiskey called Santori Time. And he's sitting there and the director comes up and he goes like, and then a translator comes over and goes, he wants you turn left, lift cup with intensity. And then he goes, is that it? Oh, okay. And then the director comes up and again does this long rambling in Japanese. And then the translator goes, okay, like slower. Slower this time. And I just thought that scene was really funny and I didn't want to forget about it.
One thing about that scene that one of our audience members here, one of my friends on Instagram brought up who lived in Japan brought up many of the traditional, when we think of Japanese culture, like actual Japanese culture, there's not much in the movie that shows an actual traditional Japanese culture in terms of the clothes they wear and the attitudes that they have. There's the one scene like where he's in the elevator and we see there's a mom and dad and a daughter and the wife is dressed in a kimono, right?
And that's also the first time he sees Scarlett Johansson.
It is, yes. He looks at, it's interesting because they're descending and he looks at this family and he's sort of starting to see himself in their relationship, and then he looks over and he sees Scarlett Johansson and she makes eye contact with him, and he doesn't break eye contact, by the way. He keeps looking at her.
Chad move.
Yeah, Chad move, dude. And but the movie is one of the things about this, before we get into like the specifics about the movie, is that the movie is wholesome in the sense that they are they're friends. They're friendly, right? Now they're obviously romantically interested in each other, but they never, up to a point, they never say it. And even in this scene right here that I have on the screen, it's like technically, they are cheating, right? She's married, he's married, they're lying on
it's
bed,
super inappropriate.
and it's inappropriate. But the amount of human contact, the actual physical contact that they have in the movie is limited to this, right? He's touching her foot.
Yeah.
And so this is the dolor exquis, right? This is the love that he cannot have. And these are both two empty character, they yearn for some sort of connection. They want connection. And when he arrives in Tokyo, by the way, he's gotten off the plane and he's riding through the streets, and we hear the Kevin Shields soundtrack playing. This soundtrack is so good, dude. This soundtrack is so good.
True.
It's Kevin Shields' My Bloody Valentine, and we hear this kind of ambient swelling synth music, and we look up and we see the grandiosity of Tokyo in this future world. And it's interesting because this is the actual future world of, especially of post Big Nine, post 90s, before the sort of Great Reset line era, Michio Kaku. This future pod city that they're building in the desert in Saudi Arabia, which is, by the way, the chat. Shouts out to the chat because they brought this up to me the other night. I hadn't heard of it. It's brand new, but it's the line. It's called the Line, right? Yeah. And it's this Mega City 1 actual pod city, metaverse Coomer City in the desert, with everyone as a human ant farm. And so anyway, so he's going through the city and he looks up and you see his eyes kind of open up and he's in awe of the lights of the city. And then he sees himself on the billboard and he's the celebrity, right? And he's in this, Centauri Time ad. And then what's interesting is that he goes to so look, he's got all of the checklists of the good husband and dad. He's gone off to this place to make $2 million because he wants to provide a good life for his family instead of going for a play, right? Because that's his artistic endeavor.
He's an actor.
He's an actor. So instead he goes for the paycheck, right? Yep. He's just kind of going about his life while he's there, and he's still talking to his wife, he's still doing all those things. But the celebrity thing bothers him because he wants to be a human being. Even when he goes to the Hyatt? He goes to they're at the Park Hyatt Hotel, I think, in Tokyo. And he's up there, he's smoking a cigar. He's alone. He's drinking Centauri. And these two frat bros are like, bro, is that him? Is that
Bob Harris? Yeah.
Bro.
And he just walks away.
Yeah, he's like, bro, did you do that car chase yourself, man?
Yeah.
Yes, he walks away. And and it's interesting that she appeals to him partly because she doesn't know who he is or she doesn't care.
I think she knows who he is, but she doesn't fawn over him. So they see each other, and then on the elevator, and he ends up the hotel sends up a happy ending lady, and they don't have a happy ending, and it's very weird, a very funny scene because the language barrier, it's very goofy. Yeah. But then he goes back up to the bar. Scarlett Johansson's up there with her alone, actually, I think, at this point. And she sends him a drink, and they briefly talk for a second, and that's it. And then Scarlett Johansson, she ends up, her and her husband are in the lobby, and Anna Faris pops up, and she's this actress, and she's really dumb and ditzy and flirting with her husband. Mm-hmm. And then you find out she pops out a tape in one of the next scenes where she's in her room, and it's this corny self-help book that talks about the pre-existence of souls. And it's just a short line, but it's your soul always existed, which is, originistic nonsense. And again, more kind of Platonism. Right. And your soul always existed and all this stuff. And Anna Faris brings up reincarnation in this junket that she's walking through the hotel, and there's a press junket, and Anna Faris is advertising an action movie with a corny poster behind her. And she's like, maybe it's reincarnation or something, because I just jumped into this role and I really think there's something more here in life. And, Bob Harris, Bill Murray, and her bump into each other after going to the pool. Scarlett Johansson invites him out, and with her and some of her friends, and they end up doing a bunch of karaoke, and she sings, like, everyone's singing different songs, and then she suddenly has the pink wig from the thumbnail, and I think from the commercials, and she sings them the song like, I'm special, so special, right? And she's looking at him being goofy, and that's what she wants to feel, though, because she doesn't feel anything. She doesn't feel anything from her husband. Her husband, while he's not like a total dickhead, he's just not attentive, and she's singing that to him. She gets drunk. Bill Murray carries her to his room, drops her off. Bill Murray calls his wife, tells her I love you, right as he gets hung up on. And it's a really sad scene, but I think that scene really does shows a lot of where Scarlett Johansson's character is at, where she just wants to feel seen. She feels empty, and she, doesn't know who she is. And the whole film is about that. It's about them figuring out who they are kind of in each other, with Bill Murray kind of knowing who he is and guiding her along that journey.
Yeah. The pink wig is interesting because that also appeared around the time with Natalie Portman in the movie Closer, right? Or Closer, but Closer with Clive Owen and Jude Law. It's about the relationship, not a love triangle, but there's 4 people in a relationship that get mixed up, and that's another, and it's in a foreign country, and it's another one of these movies that is about how the city kind of reflects the disconnect, right, in human relationships, and the discontinuity in terms of what the relationships are supposed to be and how they end up going on this other path. Now, the pink wig is also, I mean, that's just a common thing for, girls, like, I don't know, especially when I was in England, that was a thing. Like, girls wore these pink wigs and went out, and it's just like a fun thing they do.
Yeah, I only date women who wear pink wigs.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, but I can just go, yep, Shut up, Chase. Shut up.
So, but yeah, they go on you're talking about the karaoke, and what's the song he sings? Does he sing a Joy Division song?
Oh,
there's a Joy Division song in here somewhere, which is interesting because, we get these sonic landscapes, and we get I can't listen to Joy Division without thinking of, the suicide of the lead singer, and how Bill Murray's character is essentially like, he's a dark character, right? He has a kind of angst, and that's what I meant, by the way, about this film in the kind of post 90s. This movie especially, and when you think of Sofia Coppola, and she's the daughter of Francis Ford Coppola, and she's a great director. I like her. I like the 2006 movie Marie Antoinette. I've seen all of her movies, and I think that she won an Oscar for this. She won Best Screenplay. And I think that what's interesting about this is that she represents this person who was a young person, in their 20s in the 90s. And anyone who was around in the 90s knows that the overriding emotional thing in the 90s, especially amongst young people, was angst. That's angst really, really came about. And so it's this kind of raging against the lack of anything in culture. Now, of course, I look back and I think, man, the 90s that's so much good shit, but
yeah. But no, I think people saw what was coming down the pipe, and it's interesting because the 90s had, grunge, and then of course just the pop angst music, Dashboard Confessional, Blink 182.
To me, this is like My Bloody Valentine in the early 90s, turning into this in the early 2000s. And of course, again, this is post Big Nine. I mean, I remember the first time I saw this movie in 2003, and it's hard. It's like Hunter S. Thompson says, it's like it was a specific time and place, right? And if you stand there and you look back, you can just see where the water line broke, and it's very true, because there wasn't much, it's a kind of, they've broken the world.
Yeah.
And we have these characters who are still living in this weird celebrity world in Tokyo. And Tokyo, again, is completely disembodied from the Western aesthetic and the Western ideal. And yet, in the film, all of the Japanese characters that they show mainly are Westernized, right? Yeah. Again, we're in the Barbieheimer universe here. So all of the characters, like you were talking about, the guy, the director of the commercial, who is like, Giovanni Ribisi says this, and he's like, these guys all have this weird Keith Richards like.
Yeah, he's got the hair and the leather jacket and stuff.
Yeah,
Yep.
and he's like, I don't understand why they don't like. What are they doing, right? And we see that like their nightlife is full of, you know, they go to clubs and there's, you know, they're drinking, sex and drugs, and you know, but they're in the city and they're having fun, and Bill Murray, who's this older guy, he's a celebrity, but he's out of place. But again, this is reflective of like what we have heard about Bill Murray in real life and how he sort of does this. But like, there's a scene where he puts on that orange camouflage shirt, which is weird, and then he gets her to cut the tag off and he flips it inside out. So even
because she makes a joke about how old he is.
Right. Even flipping the shirt inside out to me is symbolic, and it has to be because costumes represent symbolism in movies. And it's like he's taking the exterior thing where he wants to be camouflaged because he doesn't want to be recognized when he goes out, and then he flips it inside out. Yeah. Right. So it's like I have the camouflage, but also I'm trying to make my exterior hardness, you know, I'm trying to push that down on the inside, and my interior, the things that I want, my yearning for connection, I want that on the outside.
That's interesting. Something. I didn't even notice that. Yeah.
And so they go to this karaoke, you know, and they sing songs. And by the way, the singing to each other is really like the key. That's the moment where you can tell they've fallen in love.
Yeah. It's a very tender moment. And she gets a lot out of it because the whole thing is she's been cooped up in this room listening to stupid ass self-help stuff that is garbage and going to Buddhist temples and not feeling anything. And then finally now she's out just having fun.
Yeah. And you know, even when she goes to the Buddhist, I mean, look, okay. So when people go to foreign countries, you go to the place because you want to see the culture of the place, right? Mm-hmm. You don't want to go for the globalist diversity, where everyone is the same everywhere. You want to go, if you go to Japan, she wants to see Japanese things, right? So she goes to Kyoto and she's by herself, and she's really, I mean, she's so young in the movie. He says when they meet Anna Faris, she says that she checked into the hotel under the name Evelyn Waugh. And when she walks away, Scarlett Johansson makes a good point. She's like, Evelyn Waugh was a man. And Giovanni Ribisi says, look, man, like not everybody can go to Yale like you.
Yeah. I remember that.
So,
and it's funny because he's trying to defend her, but he just calls her dumb.
Yeah. So Anna Faris is supposed to represent this other kind of celebrity, but you know, this vapid person. They at the press conference they say, so how did you and Keanu connect on the set? And she says, well, we're both into the same things. Sushi. We both like, you know, tacos. We both like, what did you say? Spirituality.
Yeah. Like reincarnation.
You know, reincarnation. Right. And also I thought it was interesting because the movie that she was in was he, I think it's called Maximum Velocity.
It was something like that. Yeah.
Keanu Reeves was in a movie like that. I forget the name of it. Is that the one with Gene Hackman?
Point Break?
No, oh, come on, man. Point Break is the greatest movie of all time. That doesn't fit into this paradigm at all, right?
Are you? Oh, you're probably thinking of Hairspray.
Right. What's the movie that she's in, that Keanu Reeves? Somebody in the chat. What was the Maximum Velocity movie that Keanu Reeves was in? He's like on the cover, not Johnny Mnemonic, but he's like on a motorcycle, and I think it had Gene Hackman as a scientific chain. Oh, it was Chain Reaction. Okay, so there's another. Maybe it's Hugh Grant in Maximum Velocity. I don't know what it is. Anyway, she's in some stupid movie, right? And the other weird thing about this, by the way, is that if Giovanni Ribisi is Spike Jonze, and Sofia Coppola and Spike Jonze were married, and she made this in 2003, and then he makes her in 2013. Anna Faris is in this, and Chris Pratt is in her, and Anna Faris and Chris Pratt were married.
Yeah,
which is a weird meta thing. But yeah, they fall in love at the karaoke, and they get chased out of the club, right? And by the guy wielding the
it's like an airsoft gun,
tracer fire airsoft BB gun, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it was actually. That's what I thought when I saw it. Went, they have those? Like,
yeah, I went, wow.
Cool. I'm not too old for that.
Yeah. So, and then they run through all the video game casinos, and he ends up carrying her back into the hotel. He's carrying her in his arms, which is weird because he like carries her across the threshold into the hotel room. And again, they have not crossed any lines. They're just You know, they're like they're young again, or he's young again.
He's young again, yeah, and she feels like she's being pursued. I think that she feels special, like that's, you know, again, she sang that song at the karaoke, I'm special, so special.
Yeah.
And she feels special again because she's getting this attention. He later, when they kind of get in an argument, he says like something about, what, you don't have someone else to shower you with attention? And but then they go back to the hotel room and they watch a movie, and one of them's on the bed, the other's not on the bed. Yeah. And they're just eating food and stuff. And then all of a sudden, Scarlett Johansson goes, I'm stuck. It doesn't get any easier. And real quick, I forgot about this. Before they go out, Bill Murray finds that Buddhist tape, like the self-help book. And he grabs it and he goes, whose is this? And she goes, oh, I don't know. He goes, I have a copy of this. And she goes, did it work? And he goes, obviously. And just deadpan, you know? So he's been through the same things as her, and he's gone through that search as her, is what we're supposed to get from that. But they're sitting that down, and she goes, I'm stuck. Does it get any easier? I don't know what I'm supposed to be. And he's like, I'm not worried about you. You're going to be fine. Yeah. And then she goes, does marriage get easier? And he goes, that's really complicated. That's really hard. You just have to keep trying at it and keep trying all these things. And then she goes to Kyoto and travels around. He goes on a Japanese talk show, which is really funny because it's a short scene, but he walks out and this Japanese talk show host in this like crazy outfit just goes like, Bob Harris, and it's super animated and there's all these noises going off. And Bill Murray's just standing there as like an old curmudgeon. But then Bill ends up coming back to the hotel and he sleeps with the singer that's been singing in the lobby of the hotel the whole movie. And he wakes up and he's horrified. He gets drunk and he wakes up and he's horrified. And he goes, he looks at the bed and he sees that there's like wine around and stuff in room service. And he just puts his head back. Or no, he looks around like almost excited for a second. And then he hears her singing and he goes like this and he just covers his face. Scarlett Johansson knocks at the door. She hears her. And then he said, yeah, maybe later we can hang out. And she's obviously hurt. And then a fire alarm goes off at the hotel and brings everyone else outside. They talk and they meet up. And then Bill Murray ends up finally leaving. And he sees her. He says bye to her. First he gets his jacket back from her and it's a quick goodbye. And then he's in the taxi leaving. And this is the very last scene. And he sees her walking. He goes, wait, stop. And he gets out of the car and he runs after her. And then he hugs her. And then they finally cross the threshold and they kiss. Yeah. And it's a really, the way it's filmed, you're not supposed to think that that's like okay, which is good that you're not supposed to think that but at the same time, it's a closure to their relationship. Mm-hmm. They kiss on the lips for a second. They don't like make out. And then he whispers something to her. And then the film ends. And the whisper is something interesting. I'm sure that there's thousands of theories about it, you know. But yeah, it's a very weird ending to me. It's good. It's really good, but it's very strange the way how they end on the kiss when they had been not crossing that threshold. And the whole time, every time they get closer to crossing that line, they would reference like his wife would message him. Mm-hmm. There would be a scene with her husband or she'd be talking about her husband. And so you knew this shouldn't be going on in the back of your head.
Yeah, I thought they kiss because it's a romance and it has to end. Okay, so for all of the disconnection and all of the stuff, it shows that these two people in the middle of all this did connect, and at least with themselves. Yeah. Right. I mean, he walks away from this smiling. He's happy. And she walks away. I mean, they've discovered something about themselves, and it has the traditional happy ending, you know. And I think that it's in terms of the whisper, it's like in Family Guy. They were analyzing the movie, and Cleveland says, "What do you think he said to her, Peter?" And Peter says, "I don't know, but it was just right." Right. I think that the fact that this is brilliant. I mean, look, this is, I love this part of the movie. I mean, this really hits me when I watch the movie. I mean, it it really, for a movie that is so cold, there's so much coldness.
Yeah.
It's all about coldness. This is like this is like shocking how warm this part of the movie is. And I think that one interesting thing you brought up is that, they cheat, they cross the line, they kiss,
Yep.
but they don't make out, it's not like sexualized, but it's almost worse.
Because it's so emotional and they're both so disconnected. Yeah.
It's so tender, and it
Yeah.
shows that these people really do love each other, but
Yeah.
they love each other in a way where they're not going to, it's not a tryst, it's not a romantic, it's not a sexual thing. It's not the only thing that this reminds me of is like, there's a scene earlier where Bill Murray is in the sauna. He's like in the bath and he's talking to his wife. And he says, I want to change everything, because he's starting to change.
Oh yeah. I want to eat better.
Yes. He says, I want to eat better. No more of that crap. Right. And she doesn't understand. What are you talking about? She doesn't understand, and then he says, she says, like what? And he says, I don't know, more sushi. And I thought this was
more sushi. I want to hold on to what I've like reawakened here.
This shows that he's back in the mode of really a person her age, someone in their 20s. This is the thing. Someone in their 20s who goes away on a study abroad for 6 months and comes back like from England with an English accent. Right. And it's like, for him, I'm Japanese now. I spent
I'm pretty much Japanese. Yeah. And it's interesting you bring that up because as the film progresses, and the tough thing about kind of talking about this film is there's so much space in the film. Like not much happens, but every line of dialogue pushes for. It's so character driven that every line of dialogue pushes the plot forward. It doesn't push the plot. It's a character development film. Yeah. And so as he deepens his relationship with the Scarlett Johansson character, he ends up trying harder with his wife over the phone, talking about, you're right. The burgundy carpet. You're right. Like nothing even comes close.
Which is interesting about the morality of the film. Right. Because while this one thing is happening, like you said, he's trying harder with his wife. Yeah. Scarlett Johansson obviously wants connection with her husband, but he's just not there.
Yeah.
He's never around. And, it doesn't become a fight. It doesn't become it's more of an internalized existential nothingness crisis that they have. The wife even says, she says, oh, if you like sushi so much, why don't you just stay there? And
there's a subtext of them fighting.
Yes, which shows that, look, man, this bitch, I'm sorry, but she's a real battle axe, right? And, he's doing what he can. We don't know what he does back in how he is back in the world.
It's alluded almost, I feel like, that he's cheated before. I almost feel like there's nothing explicit, but
I don't know. I feel like he's so awkward when they send the lady of the night to his room. He's like, it's almost like this weird angsty joke to him. Like, this is absurd. What is the way he tries to get her off the floor?
Yeah.
And then remember they go to the strip club where they're playing that Peaches song.
And he's like, let's go. Like, I don't want to be here.
You notice how he's sitting on his hands.
Yeah.
By the way, he's sitting on his hands. Mm-hmm. He doesn't, what do I do here? And he looks over and he sees Charlie Brown, the character Charlie Brown, and they're very close to this, like, very, intimate strip club or whatever. And then she walks in, right? And she's like, do you want to go? And he's like, yeah, let's get out of here. And I felt like that was a key into his character, because I felt like I don't know. It kind of seemed to me that he was, maybe he had, I don't know. But I think that.
Well, he did by the end of the film, obviously, but yeah.
He did. Yeah. But, I don't know. It's so strange because, they're married. This moment, I mean, the end of the movie is really
it's conflicting. When me and Henley talked, like, in between, it was at the start of my horrible sickness that the Chinese caused through their food warfare against me. And I remember we were talking about it, and I was saying, like, dude, it's so conflicting. It's such a conflicting thing because of
you can't do this. They can't do this.
Like,
you know,
they can't do that, but they're also moving forward internally as characters and they've been stunted but they're growing it, and you love seeing that because it's genuine. And it's so well acted, and they don't cross the line. And the whole time you're going, just don't cross the line. Like, don't cross the line. And they don't force you to feel that way, but they remind you of the relationships, that they're married and that they should care about this. He has a family, he has a child, and it's so conflicting. It's so well done.
I just almost burned my microphone there with my cigarette. That would have been bad if I was speaking.
Yeah, you got to keep the apparatus.
Yeah. So I think that Sofia Coppola, wow, now stinking. Geez, I got to be more careful here. This movie's getting me all out of sorts. I think that, it is really interesting. It's brilliant how she manages to make a movie about people falling in love out of marriage, and they don't do the things that they do in every, like, take Closer, for example, that other movie, which was like 2004, I think, which is about a specific explicit relationship. And this, they do none of those things. It's the exact opposite, and it is worse. It's worse or more powerful. It shows you how powerful number one, love is, and it shows you how powerful the yearning to be loved or to find meaning is. Because look, you were talking about the spaces in the movie. I think it's also interesting that she wins best screenplay, and you can tell that a lot of the screenplay is improvised, and that she gave space for the characters to kind of write their own script in a way. And that's what the characters in the movie are doing. They're sort of writing the script of their own life, and that she spends so much time gazing out windows. And this is probably might be the most important aspect of the scene, especially symbolically and visually, because in her, we have a character who's walking around the city, and then he finds himself in the pod world. And there's a lot of, like what we were saying, the architecture in the movie and the costumes, and it gives this sense of like largeness, and he's very small in this world. In this one, it's the same thing, except for she's lost in a really human. Yeah, Bazed normally says the golden cage. She's lost in there's this great song called Golden Cage by is it The Whitest Boy Alive? He's one of the guys from Kings of Convenience. You guys should listen to the song Golden Cage. She's lost in this golden cage because she has everything. Her husband has money. They have, he has got a job. They're on a kind of working vacation. She gets to do what she wants. And yet she's way above the city, looking out at this huge Tokyo landscape, and she can't see the people down there. And then even when she gets down into the world, nobody speaks her language. She gets lost in a kind of translation. And she's constantly, whenever we have windows in movies, it's always supposed to be that, number one, she's trying to go through the looking glass. She wants to break outside of the world, but she's also gazing at her own reflection and seeing that she's stuck inside of herself and in the world. It's also funny how she's always looking out the windows and she's half clothed, right? Yeah. Which again shows that, it's a kind of wholesome half clothing, and she's in her hotel room, and that's fine. She's not, lasciviously naked. When she meets with Anna Faris, and her husband later on, like, notice how Anna Faris is like supposed to be the kind of ditzy movie star, and she's wearing like a sweater vest. She's very covered up. Yeah. She's not like sexual at all in this movie. Yep. She's just a person who's looking for something, and she can't find it. And she's stuck gazing at herself in this cage. Yeah. So I think that there's a great article that
more articles, dude. Next time, if you're going to bring articles and try to show me up, let me know. I'll bring articles too. I can write stuff down sometimes if I get help with the AI, but just let me know.
So this is, let's see.
It's just ridiculous, dude.
Did I share it? Hold on. Let me share this. Let me share this. Give me a second here. Did I share it? What's going on?
Oh, he's going to pull up his article, guys. Congrats, dude.
This is about the interiors in the All right, stop screen. Damn. Hold on, I'm boomer teching here.
Yeah, and this is what happens when you bring up articles, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna let it go. I'm not mad. I'm fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay, there we go. All right, so Lost in Translation. This is about from the interiors. Kind of. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's because it's kind of longer. But this says here. This is interesting. It's a good analysis of the movie, and it says the Park Hyatt Tokyo serves as a setting for the film. The hotel occupies the top 14 floors of the Shinjuku Park Hotel in Tokyo. Sofia Coppola has described the hotel as one of her favorite places in the world. There's the New York bar, all that stuff. And then look at the picture of them fully clothed on the bar. On the bed, and he's barely, they're barely touching.
And when that scene happened, I what was your reaction when they're falling asleep, right? And then his hand slowly goes like this, and he just puts his hand on her foot. What was your reaction? My
reaction was, these people are so in love, and this is if they weren't married, this would be the idea. This is a beautiful relationship that's developing, but it's obviously the physical nature of the scene is there are boundaries that we see in the way that they are posed in the scene, right? Yeah. And that's an outer exploration of the way that they feel on the inside. Her feet are touching him, like she wants to walk, she wants to go with, in his direction. He represents kind of the other side of marriage, of what she's walking into, because they essentially have the same attitude, right? They both have this weird 90s attitude where they're on the either side of the 90s. Like, he's a boomer and she's a millennial, and she's kind of too young in the 90s to understand all this, and he's too old in the 90s, but they both have this kind of angst. And notice how she's turned towards him in the scene and he's turned away. Yeah. Right? They both got sweats on, he's got the sweater on. This says, Lost in Translation was born out of her desire for wanting to make a love story without being nerdy. The film explores the spaces of relationship, focusing on the moments of connection that are created when Bob and Charlotte run into each other throughout the hotel. It's also funny that, you brought this up, that it's inside of this hotel. It's inside of a kind of a, transient nexus point for all these different types of people, where only these two people can exist in this particular time and place and space. It says the diagram we presented focuses on a scene in the film where Bob and Charlotte watch La Dolce Vita, by the way, which is essentially, this movie is like La Dolce Vita or like Roman Holiday upgraded to, post Big Nine Tokyo. The scene shows their eventual transition on the bed as Sofia Coppola explores the proximity of Bob and Charlotte's bodies. Bob begins his scene by lying down on his stomach at the foot of the bed, drinking sake with Charlotte, who sits on the floor. Suck it to me, baby. Tokyo a go-go.
As Bob is drinking sake.
The following shot of the film is of Tokyo as seen through Bob's hotel window. The camera pans and focuses on Bob and Charlotte's reflection. In this shot, Bob is still lying on his stomach. Moving on, Sofia Coppola explores feelings of loneliness and uncertainty. In Charlotte's case, it's the absence of her husband that creates doubt in her life. In Bob's case, it's the unhappiness of his routine life with his family. We said all that. They talk about marriage. No, it gets easier. Here we go. Sofia Coppola, in her personal life, divorced her first husband, Spike Jonze, in 2003 when the movie came out, during the year of the film's release. Interesting. Wow. The majority of the scene is filmed from up above. The camera looks down on them together. So it's a God's eye view, right? Mm-hmm. The camera looks down on them together in the bed, looking down on their lives. Bob and Charlotte's bodies eventually begin shifting while in bed. Charlotte turns to her left and places her arm under her pillow. Earlier, remember, she was shifting in the bed with her husband, and her arm went under her husband. Bob turns to his right and places his arm under his head. The next few shots are isolated shots of each character as Bob continuously reassures Charlotte. The scene examines their friendship and explores this gradual evolution through a bed. Sofia Coppola creates an impossible scenario using the space of the hotel room. She brings this is great. She brings two married people, puts them in a bed together, and somehow makes their entire encounter feel innocent. It does do that. Yeah. There are no expectations, and the audience never assumes the characters will act on their feelings. The scene explores the innocent relationship between two new friends. Well, it goes beyond that,
Yeah.
but they do have a true bonding friendship here. And just this last part, Lost Translation contains several intertextual references which serve as a guide in understanding the film. She has a great encyclopedia of encyclopedic knowledge of film, obviously through her father, where movies and art inform other art, right? There's constant allusions. You exist in this artistic world. Sofia Coppola has commented on the relationship between Bob and Charlotte, which she states was influential from the relationship between Philip Marlowe and Vivian Rutledge in The Big Sleep. The characters in both films bond in a romantic, though not sexual way. In both instances, romance is suggested, but the characters are companions more than anything else. Now look at this. That's the evolution of their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the two of them, right? He's drinking sake on the bed. Then they're completely apart, right? On opposite sides of the bed. Then she's turned to face toward him. He kind of puts his arm across himself like he's guarding himself, but his other arm is under his head. And then they end up hand touching foot. Really, I mean, this is like ballet, dude. This is really, really incredible. People should check out that article. I've got a bunch of other ones linked in the video description, but
I'll get some articles too, and they'll be in the description. So Henley's not the only one that brought articles. So we can move on now. I actually get jealous you brought articles. I'll get articles too. It's fine.
There is another one that I'll mention here, and it's from The Artifice, and I've linked that, and it's called The Sounds of Silence. And it says, Lost in Translation pays particular attention to silence and sound in order to communicate underlying feelings of alienation, anxiety, or conversely, comfort and intimacy. The karaoke. The Michio Kaku.
The Michio
Do you know who that is?
That's the Asian science man.
That's Science Man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Asian science man. Yeah. I know all the main science men.
He's the guy who was the as Martian Roy said on ROTC. He's the guy who is the pre-Science Man Neil deGrasse Tyson, right?
Well, isn't he just a little less cringe? Because I'm sure he's cringe, but Neil Tyson is like next level cringe,
right? But he's been around for a long time. Okay. He was there before him, and then he pops up as the theoretical physicist, for Matthew McConaughey's movie.
One of my favorite quotes from Neil Tyson is just, "Don't study philosophy. Philosophy can't teach you anything."
Yeah,
it's like this is the biggest philosophical claim you can make, dummy. He's like, we're literally all stardust, and I look around and I find that amazing. Dude, Jim Bob has such I have so many quotes from him actually saved up that are just the funniest things. Anyway, keep going about Michio Kaku, the sake and the karaoke.
I guess Neil deGrasse Tyson is supposed to be an inheritor of what's the other guy? Who was the guy in the 70s?
Bill Nye Dynasty.
No, he was the guy in the 70s with the this is a four-dimensional universe. What's that guy's name? The guy that the Jodie Foster movie, the Jodie Foster
for
movie.
Contact.
Yeah, that movie's supposed to be about.
I don't know.
What's the guy's? He's the main science guy. You guys, come on, Carl Sagan. Thank you.
Oh yeah, Carl Sagan. Yeah, a pale blue dot.
When she was in Contact, hi, Dr. Lecter. I played a streetwalker and taxi driver. Now I'm a scientist.
I love that movie is so. I like that movie. It's goofy, but I like that movie, and it's got Matthew McConaughey doing the preacher, and he's like, I look out, and I just know that there's God. And he gives like terrible arguments for God, but he's still.
Yeah, he's like, look. I'm kind of disheveled. I was in A Time to Kill. I put on a scarf for this movie. and then they make like the big, cylindrical, like theme park ride, and then it blows up, right? Because Jake Cockadoo, the abuse, he blows it up, right? Because he's
the
part
religious zealot blows it up,
right? Yeah, because he's but then they have another one. Yeah.
Dude, you real quick, I sent you the link, right, to Sam Hyde's audiobook.
Yeah, Jaihu.
Jaihu's Trip to the Future. Did you listen to it?
Yeah.
Did you listen to the whole thing?
No.
Oh,
No,
dude, you got to listen to the whole thing.
I'm just listening to when he read it at Christmas.
No, I sent you a book.
Yeah.
I sent you a link to the 14-hour sci-fi book that Sam Hyde wrote and that he narrated. And there's a point in the book at which Jaihu gets pumped full of a bunch of DMT by these robots because they think that he's so tolerant that he has none of his own views, so that he can transcend and reach these other entities. And he goes and he reaches these other entities, and they go, and it turns out that they're Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan is just sitting there just going, man, it's like, it's just so profound. You think about how like we're all one thing, you know? And then Jaihu's just sitting there just going like, yeah, dude, I want to get back to my coon pod. Like, this is stupid.
Whoa.
You got to listen to the book, dude.
I like it when Dr. Lecter goes off into the cosmic Windows 95 heaven and meets her dad on the vaporwave seashore.
Oh,
yeah. Contact, right?
The vaporwave seashore.
Yeah.
That's where synths come from.
Yeah, she gets there and she meets her simulation one father, right? And he's like, listen, before you and I were born, we were two spheres, okay? And then when we transferred into the osmosis through the looking glass into the osmosis prison planet world, we split apart, and we're always going to be looking for each other to form one sphere. That's why you got here on a weird sphere that Jake Cockadoodie Busey blew up, right? We're all one, man. Listen, Aleister Crowley's over there with Alan Watts. Right, we're all
we got all of the victims from the Hindenburg blimp right there, and literally every single person that knew Dr. Seuss. We have everyone we possibly could need.
You know who else is here? Marshall Applewhite. He came here on the Hale Bopp comet in 1998. Heaven's Gate. They still got those Nikes. It's gonna be lit.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, what was I saying?
This ties into Lost in Translation.
Yes, it does somehow.
100%.
I don't remember what I was saying. Language barrier. Obviously, the language barrier plays the kind of superficial version of the Lost in Translation aspect. But then that goes deeper into how they're lost in their own lives and then lost within themselves.
Yep.
And she's so good at this movie because she hardly says anything. And the karaoke thing is another example of where it allows them to speak through someone else to each other. We were bringing up the lyrics, the song choices that they have, and how that allows them to safely express how they feel in their relationships and about each other. With other people around, because it's just songs. The scene where I think the funniest scene, like you mentioned, is where he
sings a song called "More Than This" by Roxy Music.
Oh, it's Brian Ferry. Okay, it's Roxy Music.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess he's kind of a Brian Ferry character. I mean, he looks like it, the way he's dressed. And but he what was I going to say? I don't know. The soundtrack is so good. Also on the soundtrack is Phoenix, one of my favorite bands. Yeah, it's great. And Thomas Mars is I don't know if they're married, but he has a child with Sofia Coppola. That's who she got with.
Wait, is he in Phoenix?
He's the singer of Phoenix. Yeah.
Oh.
So Phoenix is a French band that was produced by Philippe Zidar.
He's a great producer and mix engineer. He passed away a couple years ago.
He did.
Yep. Yeah. Zidar is a legendary mix engineer and producer. Yeah. He's really good.
Yeah. Wow. I've never met anybody else who knows who he is. That's incredible.
I do audio. I do, in addition to writing music, I do audio production, like mixing. And so I know, do you know Jakir King?
Wait, you do music?
No.
You just, what's that in the background? Okay. All right.
This is a simulacrum.
Yeah. Okay. So, Listomania 2000, what was it? Wolfgang
Amadeus Phoenix. Yeah.
The better album is actually, I like them. I had their alphabetical album in 2004, I think, when I was living in New York. And I liked them before that. One of the reasons why I kind of take to this movie so much is because in my own personal life, I understand what these characters go through in their sort of foreign locations and how they feel, and how they feel about finding connection, with other people and stuff. And especially when you're young, you're on this sort of not a journey of self-discovery, like Stewie says in Family Guy. I'm going to move to Europe and backpack, and I'm going to change my name to something with an X.
I'm gonna move to Europe and I'm gonna discover myself. I'm gonna go out a lot and probably like drink and maybe experiment. I'm gonna figure out who I am. I'm just gonna go crazy.
Yeah, it's none of that bullshit. But but I did live in Asia for 3 months. I lived in Malaysia, and I never went to Hong Kong, but I went to Tokyo, but I went to Hong Kong, and the two are obviously very different, but they do have this similar thing because there is this weird sense of disconnect in Hong Kong because Hong Kong is a British colonial city or former British colonial city with, this kind of weird futuristic Blade Runner architecture. And, it never sleeps, it never stops. And you're in these sort of weird crystalline, glass future worlds where everyone is outside. And so I understood kind of what it was like for these characters in that sense. And the music is so good. I remember watching, I was watching SNL in 2008, and Phoenix played, and they played, they played 3 songs, and they played Listomania.
Yeah, of course.
They were so fucking good. I mean, they're so good. Yep. But the album that's better than that, people should check out, is Bankrupt. They have a new album out now. But
I flipped through their new album, and I none of it was bad or anything, but it didn't catch me like some of their earlier stuff. So I'll check out the album Bankrupt. I like their stuff too. They're like, it's like indie synth pop. It's got a lot of heart. Yeah.
One of the things they're from Versailles, outside of Paris. And one of the things that I know they do with their albums, this is just a side note, is they record, they don't have a drummer. They use a drum machine, and then they use a live drummer for concerts. But they record their albums, and then they drive from Paris to Versailles in a shitty, Peugeot on shitty speakers in the car, testing whether the music still works in the car, because that's really the test of how people listen to music now, unless they're on their earbuds, like in Her. But God, I didn't set this fucking thing on fire.
Did you just do it again?
No, I know. I just. God,
you can buy new pop filters for Shure mics, just so you know.
Very unprofessional. So
hey, I mean, you can't win them all. You try to be upstage me by bringing articles and stuff, then you embarrass yourself again and again with the lighting your mic on fire. Yeah. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Like, just don't try to bring articles next time without warning me.
Phoenix is on the soundtrack, and it's Kevin Shields. And My Bloody Valentine is a great soundtrack. Another great soundtrack of hers is the Marie Antoinette soundtrack, the 2006 movie. Really, really fantastic movie. I mean, that movie's about Versailles, of course. Mm-hmm. So there you go. So anything else you want to bring up about these movies?
No, I think we covered them pretty well. Yeah. Guys, if you want to support Bazed Analyzer's work, please share, subscribe. You got the donate links in the chat. He's pumping out analysis with his apparatuses that are still intact every week. So, make sure to support him. You can like and follow me on Instagram at Chase Haggard Music. I'm not going to show up to you on a live stream and suddenly have articles when I never warned you that I was bringing articles. I'm not going to treat you like that.
I really thank you for being here, man. This has been great. And let me read some super chats here real quick. I went over a couple of them here. We gave a shout out to Rachel Wilson, based homeschool mom, who dropped $1.99. She said, "Cheers to my brothers." Cheers to you, Rachel Wilson. And by the way, again, just to remind everybody, I'll be on her channel a week from tonight. And I guess I can tell you the theme now. We're going to be talking about music lyrics from kind of witchy songs about vindictive breakups. So we're going to be doing like Fleetwood Mac. We're going to be doing this new SZA. Have you heard the new SZA song, Kill Bill? Read the lyrics to this song, dude. It's incredible. Or watch the video. I'll probably bring up some Bikini Kill and L7. And Kate, we'll be talking about Kate Bush. It'll be an interesting stream because it's different from movie analysis, and I've done a bunch of lyrics analysis in the past, so that'll be something. Also, let's give a shout out to Sabrina, who said, "Hey, Bazed, thanks to you and Chase for the stream." That's a $9.99 super chat. Thank you, Sabrina. Really appreciate it. Sabrina does not like Ryan Gosling. I've seen her say in many chats, and I just remembered because that struck me.
She just goes off on Ryan.
It just goes off.
Well, I mean, it's fair because a bunch of millennials and Zoomers now, for whatever reason, self-identify as Ryan Gosling.
Well, dude, that's because they're Sigma, dude. That's it's
because he's literally me.
Yeah, that's the Sigma Giga mindset, man. No, but I like Gosling. So anyway,
you've seen Lars and the Real Girl, right?
Yeah,
that's such a good movie.
Yeah, interesting that that's kind of a pre Barbenheimer movie, but yeah, Drive. And if you guys if you're looking for a good movie to watch and you're questioning, the thing about Gosling, watch The Place Beyond the Pines. That movie's fantastic. It's another triptych. It's got him and Bradley Cooper, and Gosling is great. He met his wife. He met Eva Mendes on the set of that movie. He plays a motorcycle dude who goes into the ball of death.
He's literally me, yeah.
And he's a bank robber. I mean, that it's very good.
Another good one is Lars and the Real Girl, though. That it's like an artsy fartsy film about this very depressed dude. And it's not sexual in any way, but he ends up dating a sex doll.
Yeah.
But it's a very tender, really loving, heartfelt film that's very emotional. And he's great in it. He's so good in it.
A movie that my sister, we were talking about Gosling's best movies, and she brought up Crazy Stupid Love. And I literally said to her, "No, that doesn't count. That's a metrosexual movie." But I hadn't seen it. And I watched the movie, and I thought it was a really good movie.
Is that with Steve Carell?
Yeah, he teaches. His whole point in the movie is to teach Steve Carell how to get his manhood back. How to be a man again after he gets crushed by his divorce. He gets cucked by his wife, and he turns into this schlub, and he teaches him how to be a man. And the movie's decent. It's decent.
Yep.
So. Shouts out to Sabrina there. Shouts out to OBG, Orthodox Boomer Grandma. She sends $9.99 super chat. She says, "Love you guys, love you too." Shouts out to our friend DJ there, Dejar in Australia. He sends $7.99 Australian. He says, "I almost died laughing at the old dude in the hospital." No, that's turning into an English accent. Sorry, I almost died laughing at the old dude in the hospital. Had to rewatch it 4 times. That's a good scene. That's a good scene where Bill Murray is talking to the old dude in the hospital, and by the way, he takes Scarlett Johansson there, so he's he's not white knighting her, but he cares about her, dude. He's taking her to the hospital, she's injured or whatever, and he takes her there, and he sits there and waits for her. I mean, and he's talking to this old dude because he's charismatic and he's funny. Shouts out, so shouts out to DJ. Hey, shouts out to Mo out there who sends $4.99. And he says, "Do you think she picked Tokyo because Japanese society is kind of closed to foreigners? I think the city adds to the complexity of connecting." Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if this is my friend, my IRL friend Mo. If this is my IRL friend Mo, shouts out to Mo, my longtime friend. If this is Mo on the internet, hey buddy, you can be our friend too. Yeah, that's a good question. Do you think she picked Tokyo because Japanese society is kind of closed to foreigners? Yeah, I think that's the point. It's a closed-off insular city, or not the city itself. Tokyo is obviously a major hub, but it still exists within a closed-off Tokyo society. Interesting that there are nuances to that because it's closed off and yet it's extremely westernized as a result of the things that happened in in history. But Tokyo, what struck me about this is that I was trying to think of places where one could go and get along without English. And that's pretty much everywhere in my experience. You can go Hong Kong, you can go to Shanghai, you can go to Taipei, you can go to Malaysia. Everyone everywhere speaks English. They do, except Tokyo. I think Tokyo, obviously has English signs, but the people, it's not like in France where people refuse to speak English, but they know English. Tokyo, I think, is still has this hold of traditional society. You know, they have their own rules and their own decorum. And I think especially a lot of the older people, because they have an older society, does not speak English. So truly, these characters are lost. You know, they cannot. There's no way to fake it. So because of that, they are forced to go within themselves, and then they're forced to kind of reach out. Now, Giovanni Ribisi has no problem getting along, but he's employed there, and unlike Bill Murray, who is alone, Giovanni Ribisi has a younger vitality, and he doesn't care. The Ribisi character doesn't care about the cultural things really, or getting along with the people. I mean, his is kind of a world of a surface, right? Because he's a photographer also. He's, I mean, that's a symbol of that. So yeah, shouts out to everybody dropping the super chats. Let me look at see if we got any other support here. Shouts out to Buster, who drops $10 on Venmo and says, Showtime. Shouts out to Buster out there. Thank you. Love you. Shouts out. Yeah.
Do it live. Do it live.
What does that mean, to play us out? To play us out? What? All right, go. Can't do it. Can't do it.
What is that from?
It's Bill. That's Bill O'Reilly. Yeah, they go, and next up, to play us out, Sting. And he goes, to play us out. What does that mean, to play us out? He's going to sing? What does that mean? Okay, to play us out, here's Sting. And can't do it. We'll do it live. Fuck it. I'll write it, and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, go. And that's it for the show. And to play us out, here's Sting and cut off his new album. You gotta watch it, dude.
I gotta see the whole thing. I've never seen the entire thing. I just know about the Do It Live.
No, the way that he bobs and weaves, right, and alternates between absolute rage and professional. He
goes through all the stages of grief trying to get Sting to play him out. Especially
when he looks at his watch. He breathes in, so I can't do it. All right, go. Yeah. Here's Sting and cut off his new album. Sting singing 10 Summoner's Tales. So, shouts out to, let's see, who's this from? Shouts out to Valentine. Shouts out to Valentine, who drops $20 via PayPal. Shouts out to you. Thank you so much, Valentine. Really appreciate your support. And I think that's about it. So thank you guys for all your support. Please remember, you can support me anytime. Go to the channel description, the video descriptions, any of the videos descriptions, and click on any of those links and support me. I really need your support. As always, all of us do. Please go to Chase Haggard at Instagram. Please go to Chase Haggard at YouTube. Subscribe to him. Like his content. Watch his videos. Listen to his music. Check him out. Watch Chase when he moderates debates, and when he debates himself. He is a master debater. So please check him out on all the platforms. And also, again, we'll be back. We'll be back later on. I got a bunch of stuff in the works. I'm doing The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells. And I don't know, it's a shitload of books. We have an infinite number of books. Please go back and watch my old streams. Go back and watch our first stream that we did together. We did Tortured Artists.
Oh, that was a blast.
Yeah, that was a good one. And we talked about Whiplash, Black Swan. And Birdman.
Yep, that's right. And if you guys think of anything that in the future you think would be fun for me and Bazed here to cover, maybe in a couple months, if we think of something that's we think would offer you guys value, because that's Bazed Lit Analyzer only wants to cover things that'll give you guys actual value. Let us know in the comments. And he's already said no to all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies. So obviously, we're going to say no to that. Sadly, he has already said no. So
I mean, I wouldn't say no to that. I've got a book on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by one of the actors who was in the original movie. It's pretty interesting about the dynamics of A friend gave it to me. I couldn't believe how good it was, about what it was like filming the movie. And also, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 has Vanilla Ice on the soundtrack. Go Ninja, go Ninja.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. And also, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is about, the lizard people and the toxic world of, I don't know. Greta does not like that movie, right? Or maybe she does, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's about toxic industry, literal toxins, and creating lizard people, and how they have to fight against it in the subterranean world against, with Splinter as their guide. Splinter, probably.
Literally me.
Yeah.
Literally me.
Yeah.
Oh, and it does look like a first-person Q just dropped a $5 super chat saying, "Great stream. Tom
Nice.
Waits and Guy Fawkes make a good team."
Good. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles also has Shredder, and I knew a dude named Shredder. A surfer in Malpais in Costa Rica. So,
All right, so you guys heard it here first. We get enough requests in the comments. 3-hour Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles analysis of all of the deep symbolism and geopolitical underpinnings of TMNT.
Also, shouts out to Dana out there who dropped $50 for a sponsored stream earlier this week. And I'm going to do the Pioneers, which is a Walt Whitman poem. I'll do that as part of a larger stream on Whitman and 19th century literature. He also dropped $10 earlier for a thank you for the Malik and network analysis. Big fan, he said earlier this week. So I wanted to make sure I gave him a shout out because I missed that last time. Okay, guys, that's about all we got. Thank you. Make sure you like and share, subscribe. Also, be there tomorrow night. Everybody here obviously will be, but be there tomorrow night for over on Jay's analysis, because Jay and Jamie are going to talk about Scarlett Johansson and the Dark Savior complex, the films that she's done, the Monarch films that she's done. So that'll be interesting. And again, you can check me out on Jamie's channel in early September. So that's about all we got. Thanks, y'all.
Have a good night, y'all.
All right. Peace. Love y'all. And peace.